Yes, indeed. It's another Saturday night, so you know what it is. It's another Saturday night shoot the breeze. This is episode 237. Imagine that. I want to thank everyone who will participate both from the chat and the panel tonight. Hopefully, we get a good turnout. I want to thank everyone who participated last week. Last week was a good show as well. We only got through two topics last week, which is why a few of these topics are going to be a carryover from last week. Let's get right to it. Tonight's show, we're going to discuss democracy kills, say Burkina Faso leader Ibrahim Traore. We're going to talk about Iran hip hop. Who knew? We're going to talk about on a scale of 1 to 10 how effective is a certain type of propaganda. We're going to show you a sister and tell you to be more like this sister and think about nation building. I can't wait for that topic, actually. And lastly, we'll discuss hygiene and how hygiene is deeply cultural. It tells you a lot about civilizational development. So we're going to be talking about some nation building type stuff here tonight. I look forward to the conversation. I see a lot of slaughter out there. Can you guys hear my voice? Drop a 1 if you can. If you can hear my voice, drop a 1. That would be appreciated. Also, we have a goal up tonight. Small goal. Trying to get 5 super chats. 5 super chats. So whatever you can give, 1, 2, 5, or anything in between, try to donate to the show. Let's get a culture of supporting the things. I mean, truly supporting the things that we tend to enjoy. With that said, I'm going to start the show officially, and on the other side, I'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, as well as introduce any and all of my panelists and anyone in the chat. So please stay tuned. In the meantime, hit the like button, share the show, invite a friend to check out what we do here every Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So do stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, indeed. Also, make sure to check out Kofi the Black Critic. He had a live. Was that last night? Yeah, I think it was last night he had a live. Pretty good stuff. Make sure to check him out. You can check out the playback as well. Make sure to check out Realm in the Bush. That's considered cheek. Check out Forecast Radio. Remember, Forecast has his book out. Make sure you guys support that effort. The book is called The History of Racism, A Guide to White Supremacy. Make sure to pick it up on Amazon. There's the hardback cover, or the hardcover, I should say, and there's the Kindle version. Support that brother. Let him know that you support him as well. And last but not least, Brother Bakari, DBN Network. Make sure to check out all those podcasts under the KWAZ Radio banner. With that said, let me welcome in my first panelist of the night. Always trustworthy, always timely, Mr. Black Steel. How are you this week?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there, man. Thanks for coming through as always.
All right.
Yes, sir. Without further ado, let's just get right into it. It's just me and Black Steel, but that's all right. In the chat, a lot of slaughters here. Arthur is out there saying bucka buck, bucka bucka, booyaka booyaka. Should read topic number 1. Democracy kills, says Burkina Faso leader Ibrahim Traoré. This comes with several links, so we'll work our way through them, and hopefully others will join us in the meantime. So the first one is going to take us to X. Make sure you guys can see my screen. Wait, doesn't seem like you. Okay, here we go. Before we get into it, let's welcome in Buana. Buana, how are you this week?
I'm good. I hope everyone is well.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming through as always. So again, should be topic number 1. Democracy kills, says Burkina Faso leader Ibrahim Traoré. This tweet from Global Eye News says Burkina Faso's Ibrahim Traoré says democracy kills. People must forget about democracy. Democracy is not for us. That's the first attachment. The second attachment says most African youth support Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso because he's doing what democracy could not do for the country. This comes with a video. Make sure my sound is picking up. Yes. We'll watch the video and then we'll proceed through the other attachments.
Of all the resources Burkina Faso have, they've not been able to build even more than 5,000 kilometers of road. Today, as we are speaking, when our politicians go around building first coach, second coach roads, he is building asphalted overland roads. How many years? And today, the person that is building roads, the person that is giving hope to the people, we have some people coming from nowhere to tell them that, you know what, we are ready to give you life. In fact, if they want to give life, they should go to Congo, they should go to South Sudan, they should go there, and the mess they caused there, they should go and put it together, take it back to them. We are ready to rise up and say, enough is enough. It is now. They can never keep us in the fear of the circles of imperialism. We are ready to detach ourselves and say enough is enough. And this is the time that African youth need to read through the lines and see and realize the truth. The same way they did to Nkrumah, they use the same people. And this is a warning that goes to all African leaders. That they sit back and allow themselves to be used by the imperialists. Anytime there has been any elimination of any African good leader, it is great. We use our own people against us. Just as they're doing right now. And we are sending a strong warning to the Ivory Coast leader. The president of Ivory Coast. If you are a brother and you sit down with our enemy, you become our enemy. Simple. We are not our brother again. Warning to them. Warning to them. And we are sending a strong warning to the president of Ghana to send a strong warning as far as diplomacy is concerned to the president and the consulate of Ghana for Ivory Coast that enough is enough. We are never going to sit down and allow this to happen again. If we believe in African unification, if we celebrate 6th March, which is our independence, that Nkrumah actually linked it to the total liberation of Africa. We are saying today that as he is a president, the Ivorian president, that my brother, you are stepping on the toes of the lion. Don't do this as a brother, because if you do, we are never going to sit back and watch you. If we can't get hold of you, You have your families. Start coming after them. Tell them we are coming.
Traoré didn't just seize power, he rewired destiny. He's not leading a country, he's engineering a continental rebirth. When the world expected another puppet, he became the architect of Africa's renaissance. He builds roads while others build excuses. He refines gold while others refine speeches. He speaks less, but every silence shakes Paris. If the West truly wants to give life, let them resurrect the Congo they murdered. Let them rebuild South Sudan, repair the chaos they left behind. Africa owes them nothing, not even an explanation. This is a generation unafraid of exile, unafraid of death, unafraid of truth. We've studied their tricks, the coups, the sanctions, the psychological wars, they could not kill. The lions are no longer sleeping. Traoré is not a man, he is a signal. And that signal says Africa has re-entered history.
I just want to say that that's how that black man spoke just now, and how the narrator even spoke, black woman. This is how every black man and every black woman should be talking, should be thinking this way too. It's important to have that spirit, even if you don't agree with this concept of anti-democracy or whatever. But that's how we should be thinking and speaking to one another, to be quite frank. But we have more attachments for this prompt. This one comes from Typical African, one of my favorite accounts on Twitter. It says democracy took loans and aid just to loot them while patronizing foreigners who loot resources, whereas Captain Ibrahim Traoré uses revenues from Burkina Faso's resources to develop infrastructure and the economy. Democracy is overrated and has underperformed in Africa, especially when corrupt politicians are in power. Now, there's a video here. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop sharing real quick because StreamYard sound disconnected from my browser. So let me do this again. Share with you guys. Typical African. No, maybe it's this one. Yeah. So we'll play this video. It's short, and then I'll play the one last attachment, and then we'll have a grand discussion.
So guys, welcome to Burkina Faso. This is the bridge they just constructed in Ouagadougou right now as we speak. This particular area, show them. This particular area is a new area that has just been constructed in Burkina Faso. And I don't know, some of you guys have been thinking Burkina Faso has not been developing. But I came this particular spot like some couple of weeks, and it hasn't been constructed yet. It hasn't been paved. But check this out now. It's amazing. It's amazing. And this is the work the President Ibrahim Traoré has been doing. God bless him so much. And I want you guys to subscribe. Share this video so people can know that Burkina Faso is really developing. I love you guys so much. And if you want to see the full video, check out on my YouTube channel. I dropped the full video. But check this out. Isn't this amazing? This is Burkina Faso. I love you guys. So guys, welcome to Burkina Faso. This is the...
So again, they haven't had this kind of development in the 20 years prior to Traoré taking power. This is the last attachment here, and then we'll have our discussion.
Les droits de l'homme, Monsieur le Président, organisations internationales, on vous a accusé de réprimer la presse indépendante and société civile. Y a-t-il une place pour les droits de l'homme au Burkina Faso?
Il y a les droits de l'homme au Burkina, c'est quoi ils appellent les droits de l'homme? Mais moi, je ne sais pas ce qu'eux ils pensent. Vous savez, personne ne va venir ici financer des gens, les endoctriner pour détruire nos pays. Ça n'aura pas lieu. Vous savez, il y a combien d'ONG au Burkina? Vous pouvez imaginer, faites des recherches. C'est même pas des centaines, hein. C'est beaucoup. Je ne vais pas vous donner le nom. Faites des recherches. Cherchez chaque ONG fait quoi. Vous croyez vraiment que c'est humanitaire? Donc, il y a des choses comme ça qu'on combat. On dit qu'on combat les droits de l'homme. C'est ça, les droits de l'homme? Nous, on lutte contre le terrorisme pour sécuriser nos populations. Donc, on donne le droit de vie à nos populations. C'est le premier droit, non? Le droit à la vie. Est-ce qu'on ne lutte pas pour les droits de l'homme? On se bat pour que les écoles qui sont fermées ouvrent, pour que les enfants puissent aller à l'école. Le droit à l'éducation, ce n'est pas le droit de l'homme? Qui se bat pour nous? Qui nous aide? Ces mêmes gens qui piaillent tous les jours que les droits de l'homme, personne ne nous a donné une seule cartouche pour lutter contre le terrorisme qui tue nos enfants, pour lutter contre le terrorisme qui ferme nos écoles, qui détruisent nos écoles. Ça veut dire que les terroristes luttent contre les droits de l'homme, nous on lutte pour les droits de l'homme, et eux, ils encouragent les terroristes. Qui luttent contre les droits de l'homme? C'est eux qui le disent. Et je vous parlais tout de suite de certaines choses qui se passent en Europe et tout. Mais c'est là-bas qu'ils luttent contre les droits de l'homme. Sinon, ici, les droits de l'homme existent. Et retenez quelque chose, les droits de l'homme viennent d'Afrique. Hein. Ça ne vient pas d'ailleurs. Ça vient d'Afrique et d'Afrique de l'Ouest ici. Les premières chartes qui parlaient des droits de l'homme, c'était ici, dans la Confédération AES, plus précisément au Mali.
La charte de Kouroukanfou.
Kouroukanfou. Donc les droits de l'homme étaient connus par les Africains. On était bien organisés, une société bien organisée, chacun avec ses droits, même les droits des femmes. C'est en Afrique que les droits des femmes a existé. Ailleurs, ça n'existait pas. Et c'est eux là qui peuvent nous parler des droits des femmes ou des droits de l'homme. Ils ne connaissent aucun droit. Qui parle des droits de l'homme? Qui a bombardé les enfants en Libye tués? Qui bombarde les enfants un peu partout, largue les bombes sans distinction, tuer des enfants et trucs? C'est ça les droits de l'homme? C'est pas ce que nous on fait. Nous on lutte pour la vie de nos populations. On les protège. Nos soldats meurent pour les protéger. Et on fait tout pour ouvrir nos écoles, pour les éduquer. On fait tout pour subventionner nos paysans, faire l'agriculture pour qu'ils mangent à leur faim. On fait tout pour creuser des forêts pour que les gens aient l'eau potable. Qui lutte contre les droits de l'homme? C'est eux. Ils n'ont aucun respect des droits de l'homme.
Et les VDP accusés de graves violations, où sont les investigations promises?
Ceux qui disent que les VDP sont accusés de graves violations, ils ont présenté quelles preuves? Nous-mêmes, qui avons pris des VDP dans certains actes, ils sont en prison. Ces VDP-là sont en prison. Et ils savent où ils sont. Et nous avons dit, quiconque, ça c'est pas quelqu'un, écoutez, nous sommes majeurs. Hein. Nous sommes majeurs. Il ne faut pas que quelqu'un va nous voir comme des sous-hommes. Nous savons ce que nous faisons. Et c'est cette mentalité aussi qui est dangereuse. Parce que souvent, certains dirigeants en Occident et trucs là voient les Africains comme des sous-hommes. Et donc, ils viennent ici comme si ils doivent nous apprendre des choses. Je vous ai dit que le droit à la vie, c'est nous, on enseigne ça au reste du monde. Personne ne nous enseigne ça. Donc, c'est vrai qu'il y a eu quelques petits problèmes avec certains VDP. Il y en a qui ont fait des bavures et autres. Ils sont en prison. C'est sans état d'âme avec ça. Maintenant, tout ce qu'ils disent là, ils ont eu quelle preuve? Rien. C'est nous, quand les gens nous accusent, on fait les investigations. Et très souvent, on part trouver que c'est ce qu'on appelle la perfidie. Les terroristes, ils viennent, ils font des massacres dans des endroits, avec souvent nos tenues. Même souvent, on dit que c'est l'armée. Et puis ils partent. Ils sont venus dans les tenues de l'armée. Oui, mais c'est pas nous. Ils mettent nos drapeaux, tous nos insignes, et puis ils viennent faire. Et les terroristes publient des vidéos de ça. Mais pourquoi ils ne nous voient pas? Les terroristes publient sur les réseaux sociaux des vidéos où ils sont dans nos tenues, dans nos accoutrements et tout. Ils partent faire des actions. Et puis après, ils filment donner à ces gens, à ces individus-là pour dire que ce sont des fausses annonces. Ils sont bien au courant parce que c'est eux-mêmes qui partent là-bas. Comment ils ont fait pour avoir le canal avec les terroristes pour avoir des images? Comment ils font? Et il y a des gens même qui ont le culot de nous dire qu'ils ont filmé. Je me rappelle une fois, une ONG qui, par image satellite, ils ont vu des Maliens en train de commettre les forces maliennes en train de commettre des exactions. Ils n'ont même pas honte. Ils n'ont pas l'intelligence de savoir que ce qu'ils disent n'est pas bien. Pourquoi je dis non pas l'intelligence? C'est parce qu'ils voient le noir toujours comme un sous-homme. Sinon, si vous avez la capacité d'avoir des satellites pour voir des forces en train de commettre des exactions, mais vous n'avez pas de capacité d'avoir des satellites pour voir les terroristes. Vous nous insultez alors. Ici, tout notre combat, c'est pour la survie de nos populations et leur sécurité. Et on vit bien. On vit bien, on est en bonne harmonie. Sinon, bon, on ne pourrait pas aller où on veut. Et voilà, on ne pourrait pas agir. Et vous pouvez vous balader au Burkina. Hein. Vous pouvez aller partout où vous voulez. Vous allez voir ce qui change au Burkina, qu'est-ce que les populations apprécient de notre révolution et tout. Et ça vous fera beaucoup de bien.
So that obviously wasn't spoken in English, but essentially the conversation was about human rights and if human rights are being respected. And Traore had to remind this interviewer, that the idea of human rights comes from Africa, particularly from Mali with the Kourakan, The Kourakan Fuga was a statement of human rights and the rights of women and stuff like that from like the early 1200s. Then after that, Traore goes into the idea that these foreign entities aid and enact some of these terrorist attacks. They actually dress up like Traore and them, carry out these assaults, and then give video, quote unquote, evidence to the foreigners who are backing them, for the foreigners to say, "See, look at these Africans." And he mentioned something in there too that's necessary. He mentions how the world sees Africans as subhuman or as subordinate. So when they see these stories, these images of these people who are pretending to be Traore in them, carrying out these atrocities, people tend to believe that. People tend to run with it. But at the end, he basically says, talk to the people. You'll see that the people are pleased with the advancements under or during this revolution that he and others are leading. So it's an interesting thing. Now, you guys in the chat, I see some of you tend to like democracy. Let me read a couple of comments to start off here, and then I'll throw it to my panelists. Let's see. So real quick. Oh, wow, there's a lot more comments than I thought there was. But Trigger Happy's out there in the chat saying peace, peace. Athrazer says, representational government is important. Democracy to me is just a word. We need to be able to remove bad rulers. We need to focus on principles, not labels. Labels obscure, principles reveal. Athrazer says, a brother sent me a history lesson on how Rastafari was installed, removing a person that was installed by his father because of the meddling of the Europeans in Ethiopia. This was a good monarchy. He says, democracies, monarchies, whatever form of government can be manipulated. It is not it is the content. Lastly, he says here, is it good government or bad government? There's a few other comments. Kofi the Black Critic is out there in the chat. The matron says greetings to everyone, just to name a few. The matron here says, I have always been a fan of the benevolent, humanistic dictator. I'm going to leave that comment up there for a little minute. Let me start off with Black Steel. Black Steel, what say you to all in relation to Shooter Breeze topic number 1, democracy kills?
Well, I would say this. I don't understand the correlation, right? So one thing he said about democracy, and I can understand, the particular situation that Burkina Faso is in, right? Because we have foreign entities that are arming insurgent groups within your country. as a way to undermine your leadership. So here's the problem. Here's the thing, right? And Athens really spoke to this, right? People need to be able to have a government that represents the will of the people. The idea of democracy not being African is not correct, because there are many institutions within Africa that represent the will of the people. That has limited government, that has separation of powers. These are all ideas that come from white people put them in. They said them, but as Trey Orwell was saying, we were doing human rights and women's rights long before you guys were. When you guys considered women property, we had given them the freedoms that took you centuries to build. So the concept of democratic ideals is not being African is kind of funny, right? And even if we look at if we talk about European democracy, we're going all the way back to ancient Athens, right? The governments that were in Africa were much more, open, much more had more will from the people than anything that was being done in Europe, right? But I think that in a situation that where Burkina Faso is in, right, because they are dealing with the existential crisis, right? There may be a time to maybe curb some sort of democratic ideals, but once that emergency is over, at that point, then you have to give the power back to the people, because you want to have a government that represents what people want. The idea that you know what's best for the people and they shouldn't have any say in things. Because to me, that's what you mean when you have a dictatorship, right? You have one ruler who controls everything. And I'm not saying that's what he's advocating for, but to say that democracy kills, and then to kind of say, oh, look what happened with Libya and so on and so forth, I would hardly call what Gaddafi had a democracy, right? People could vote, but I mean, he was in charge for 30-something years. When you have a leader who can't be removed and, you can't critique him, then you don't have a democracy. So, yeah, I don't believe that, relating the two means that democracy is bad. You need to have, as a leader, you need to be able to be held accountable for the things and your actions that you do. And the people need to have a voice in the way they're being ruled. That's what democracy is. Nothing about that is anti-African. Nothing about that is killing people. I think that we need to educate the citizens of the country, because one thing about democracy is that you need a well-educated citizenry for it to work. And I think that as you educate the people, as you're improving your nation, then I think that you're going to have a much better outcome. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Black Seal. I will say, and I'm glad that Black Seal referenced it a few times. These guys are at really the beginning of a revolution. I don't think you need democracy yet. I agree with the matron in that I believe you have the benevolent, humanistic dictator. You give them a chance to guide the country where it needs to go, get rid of the problematic elements, etc. What happens, and I think this is the thing we cannot forget, the way democracy is practiced now and the way it is pushed on Africa too, by the way, Western democracy, you can be that benevolent, humanistic dictator, and they'll arm what do they call it? They'll arm a threat against you. They'll propagandize your people against you. And before you could even really do anything good with the country, you'll be out of there, if not killed out of there, deleted out of there, right? So I just want to make sure that we're all aware of that when we have in this discussion, that I don't know if he said democracy never, But I do believe that he's saying, like, right now, we don't need people who are still, we've said it before, and it's a kind of a crude statement, but the masses are asses. Do you want to have a democratic election now when these guys are just percolating? Me personally, I don't think so. But let's hear what Buana has to say about it. Buana, what say?
I think that I agree with the both of y'all brothers. I agree with the both of y'all in this respect, because you should have a say so in the affairs of your country. That's important. You can't be paying taxes to the country. You can't have obligations to the country without the privilege of having the say so as a citizen within that country. As far as Western style democracy, I do believe Western style democracy, as it's been practiced not only in Africa but throughout the world, has been a killer, whether it's to their citizens in the country or the other people outside of their countries, respectively. They've killed people, Western style democracies, and that is a fact. Parliamentary democracies stagnate. If Western democracies kill, parliamentary democracies certainly stagnate. You'll have these people sitting in parliament discussing on matters that are trivial, fixing the roads. It takes 30 years to build a building. You can't wait 30 years to decide whether and a certain energy should be provided for your constituents, or it shouldn't be provided for your constituency. It shouldn't take 30 years to do that. So I think that parliamentary democracy certainly stagnates. I'm concerned, though. I'm concerned because there are many people, African leaders in particular, who have a history. When they get in power, they all about the people, and then 30 years later, they still talking the same rhetoric. And I hope this is not an issue of history repeating itself with Traore, because many African leaders began in the same vein of Traore back in the day. So I hope it's not the same old merry-go-round. If you have an issue with the Western style democracy, well, create African democracy, whatever that looks like. Even if you have to dig into the history books to see how effective in terms of politics, African style democracy could work in Africa. Even if it means you extended term limits. If you can't do it in 5 years, if you can't get certain things done within 5 years, extended terms, extended to 10 years, extended to 15 years. But certainly, I don't think you have some leaders who've been in power for 50 years. You mean to tell me there's no one else in that country who can't govern the country as effective as you? That is fanciful. That is fanciful. So I don't want us to get in, because I used to believe in this idea of benevolent, humanistic dictator as well. I used to believe in that, but I think that when it comes to power, these things should be shared, and when it comes to the running of a country, there are other voices besides yours that should be heard as well and implemented in terms of ideas. It can't just be one particular man or a group of men deciding the fate of the country for 30, 40, 50 years. The country stagnates if you do that. So I think that if you come up with a better plan, it should be a better plan where you should have certain points of where you could reference in year 5, this is going to happen. In year 10, this is going to happen. By year 15, I no longer have no use. I'm going to pass the torch on to someone else. If you don't want to go with the whole 5-year term limit election every 5 years and things of that nature, change it to where it's suitable for you. But you can't deny the rights of people having a say so within the country themselves. I think that is unfair. And I am very leery with this kind of rhetoric. In terms of the video itself, of roads being built and things of that nature, man. I live in a country where roads are built. But since Burkina Faso is really a new country with a lot of young people in it, they don't understand that after you build the road, you have to maintain the road and make sure the road stays the way it is after 30, 40, and 50 years. Maintenance is important to the building of a country as well. After the building is built, the other trick is maintaining the building, and the other trick is improving on what you have built before, improving on it. So I don't want my Burkina Faso to be uh, get intoxicated with the idea of newness, where 20 and 30 years down the line, you see, okay, now this building been built for a long time, but now you're seeing cracks and wears and tears and things of that nature. So where's the maintenance? I'm hoping the people who built those roads were actually Burkina Faso, and if they were not, if they were outsiders coming in to fix those roads, hopefully they would have people inside the country who are taking notes, and they understand how to create these kinds of things themselves if need be. So if you have to maintain these things, you don't have to import from the outside again. There are so many, for new countries and new development, there are so many things that you think about. There are so many things you may not even consider because of the newness of a thing. Whereas the someone who's been around longer, they know, okay, this thing has been built, wonderful, but how long is this going to last for? Like anything in the world, it has a what do you call it? A time period of when it is new, then it gets worn, and then now you have to create repairs. And then it's also, you have to have the people who talk about at new improvements, innovation, and advancement. All these things should be into the discussion as well. That's why I feel like sometimes it is I wouldn't quickly move away from the idea of including others in the building and the maintenance of my country. And like I say, it shouldn't be no one man who could come around within a country where you don't have other people who could do the same thing just like you. That must be considered, and they'll be frustrated in your country because they could provide for the development of your country, but for you just been in there 30, 40, and 50 years and think only it should only come to you. No, it doesn't work that way. Power should be shared, responsibility should be shared, all these other things can be shared. And after a while, you have to have succession plans for when you leave the mid office, it won't fall to shit. Because if everybody depended on you, what if you get sick? What if you die? So succession planning is another important thing as well. So all these things should be considered into the building and the development of a country, and in a country moving forward. So this is what I wanted to add to the discussion.
Appreciate that. I gotta say something though. Afro pessimism is a big deterrence for progress. The idea that if I took leadership in a black nation, that I may be just as bad as the people before me, I have a problem with that. Give me the chance, the honest chance, to take the place, the country, or the nation to the next level. And everything that y'all said, no one said anything about, you know what, he might come in there and he might not just build roads, he might build bridges, he might build this, that, he might do this, that, and the other. And I think that's a little bit problematic. If I'm to be honest, who would want to take leadership after hearing that doubt of African leadership? I understand we've had assholes in the past, but guess what? Those were puppets of the West. The same people folks was clamoring to get democracy from. Those were those puppets. They were the ones to misuse this thing called democracy and use propaganda against their people and all that. I think we got to move past that. Because what's going to happen is you're not going to have people in earnest who want to take these positions. I don't want to be doubted from day one and lumped in with the previous assholes from day one. I think that's something we got to consider. You know what I mean? After makes a point. He says caution is not pessimism. Actually, caution is pessimism. There is an element of pessimism in that. Like Trigger Happy said, 9 out of 10 of these people were puppets. And I shouldn't. If I've sat down all my life and I watch 50 years of bad governance, and I say, you know what, man? I have examples of when we were great. I think Buana might have mentioned, Blackstone might have mentioned. Um, I have all these years of watching the nonsense, and I say, you know what? I'm taking it back to what we had before. Like recently, I think it was either early this year, late last year. It was said at least that he had selected a council of elders or something along those lines, right? The way we used to do things, right? I think it was Black Steel mentioned before times. The king didn't have absolute power. He still had a council he had to correspond with, right? The point I'm making, afterwards or in the chat, is when we put these messages out that we have to be wary and leery of an African who comes along and is trying to do something. That's not helpful. That's not helpful at all. It provides a chink in the armor for the Western powers now to come and disrupt everything that's being done. Is that not agreeable?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so, Coco. No, I don't think was you finished?
No, yeah, well, take it away.
No, finish, bro. Finish, brother. Finish.
I'm done. Go ahead. Tell me where if you put the doubt in people to be leery, constantly leery, at the start of a revolution, are you not inviting the Western powers who are gunning for you, who are gunning for this man, to come in with their propaganda?
No, I don't think so, Coco. I think that, you should always hear two sides of an argument. Not even an argument. If this gentleman is 38 years old, and someone who is 47, 57, who's seen the changes in the country, who understands human behavior, who understands the world a little bit more because he's lived longer. I'm not saying that because he's smarter. I'm saying he's lived longer. So he understands some human realities the younger gentleman, the young optimistic gentleman might not be aware of. So that blinder, I'm helping him remove that blinder that he may not see at the point of where he is in his life. I'm making him aware of that. I'm not trying to steal his thunder. I'm just making him aware of that. I'm making him aware of the fickleness of human beings. People will cheer you one day and say worship you one day, and the next day they'll call you the devil. And a younger person should be aware of things like that. They shouldn't have. I'm thinking I am making the leadership more smarter, more intelligent. Especially like if you live in a certain kind of world, you understand certain realities that exist, whether you want to admit it or not. Now, I am an optimist. I am not, but I'm also a pragmatist as well. And I don't want to walk through the world with blinders on. Neither should I pass that on to the younger generation so they could not be aware of certain things. And when certain problems befall them, which is an eventuality of life, they will know how to deal with these things. So I'm not trying to be a negative. If it would be unwise for me to know better and shut my mouth and not say nothing and say, I'm going to just be optimistic. I know enough about human behavior to know, the reality, not only of him, that optimistic young man, but the people around him as well, from the young person to the older person, because I've lived longer. So, I understand, and I'm not, you talk about Afro pessimism. I feel like I'm a very optimistic individual, but I'm a pragmatic individual as well. And these voices need to be heard around the president as well. You can't just be around singing the man praises and talking about the wonderful things or possibilities that could happen without talking about the practicalities as well. And I would be let me finish. I would be negligent. I would be negligent in my life experiences not to express this to the leader.
Real quick. what has Traore done that sparks the need of doubt at this moment?
First of all, this whole idea of being anti-democratic, or what do you call it? What did the prompt was? Being Western democracy kills. If Western democracy kills, first of all, it sends a signal out to the people who live and have to exist in the space that he lives in, that who want to have a say so, who want to have a say so in the affairs of Burkina Faso. When they hear their leader say that democracy kills, they say, "Oh, this person don't want us to participate in the affairs of our country," and that going to sow discontent. And after discontent, what comes after that? You're inviting people in the country to do harm to you, because the people around you say, "Well, I'm not going to be paying taxes to my government. I'm not going to have all the obligations of a citizen, but have no say so because this leader doesn't want me to have no say so because he's anti-democratic. No, I must have a say so in my government. If I provide all the taxes and revenue for you to do all the things that you're capable of doing inside your country, I'm not going to sit back and have nothing to say about that. Absolutely not. That should be invited. In my mind now, in my mind, the president should invite people to give advice or to give their opinions, especially if they're citizens of his country. And I'm saying you inviting turmoil into your country when you start talking like that. That's all I'm telling you.
But who's to say that he doesn't invite the ideas of trusted people around him?
You asked the question. You asked the question, right?
No, but that's the point. I'm saying we're just saying things without knowing. Well, maybe he is tapped in to the grassroots of his country, and he's moving based on what the grassroots. Maybe the people are saying, "Yo, we need roads, man. We need better roads around here. We need this thing. We need that thing," and he's moving according to what they're saying. That's what I'm saying. We're putting up the dark cloud without really knowing what's going on.
That's true.
It creates doubt.
That's very true, Koku. But I also think that we've seen in the past, right, how many African leaders come on board with popular support, and then over time, once they refuse to leave power, then it becomes difficult. Let's look. So even right now, you have a small country like Equatorial Guinea, right? That's been ruled by the same family almost since independence. We got the issues of the dictatorship in Togo. That's another problem. We got who could forget Mbotu, how he did the Congo. So maybe we don't want to sound the alarm just yet, but there's something like that when someone says democracy kills. Maybe it's something that we have to we need to be concerned about. I'm not ready to ring the alarm just yet. It's not even a yellow flag yet. Maybe it's like a greenish yellow flag, but it's just something we just need to keep our eyes on.
I could live with that. That makes more sense. But to say, anyway, let's welcome in our brother Kofi, the Black Critic. Kofi, how are you this week?
I'm doing good. You see, I'm on the road right now, but I enjoy the conversation. I'm always doing something ripping and running. So with the conversation that I have, it says, I'm a response to democracy kills, and I agree with a lot of what Black Steel and Juana said. And we have to really differentiate between what is democracy. White people didn't create democracy. White people like to tell you they created democracy. They created Western democracy. But the first time democracy ever existed was during the time of Western civilization with the Greeks. That's totally not true. Africans had a society, right? We had a democracy. We had a monarchy. We had also a democracy where we had heads of state. We had council. We had all these advisors that we have. So we can't let our Western sensibilities or Western people taint something that we created that they bastardize. If you're a president of somebody, you can't be the president of something and have like a monarchical type ideology. If I'm the president of something and Ibrahim Torre is the president of something, that means, I mean, he came to power in a different sort of way. But if you're the president of something, you're saying, hey, look, I have a board, I have advisors, I have all these people that I have, and my board and all my advisors, right? They could come together and say, you know what, you are the leader, but a president, even if you're a king, you have a monarchy, they have to listen to their subjects. The only difference is with a president and a king, the king could always say, you know what, I don't care what my subjects are saying, I'm gonna do what I want to do. You know why? Because I'm king. If you're a president, you have to be held accountable, like Wanda says, right? Even in this country, you had black people during the civil rights era where you're paying taxes and it was taxation without representation. Like Wanda said, you're not gonna be charging me taxes and I gotta give you a portion of my hard-earned money and I don't have a say so in it. So I think we just need a fresh look at what democracy is. Go back to the elders back then. Okay, what worked before colonialism? What was we had a system that was working before colonialism. So let's take what we were working during colonialism and take a new first. Okay, we like certain things that quote unquote the West have given us. Let's incorporate all these things and have something that's a working model that benefit us and us only. But someone else said something about Haile Selassie, and that was a good monarchy, whatever. And any monarchy that's fixated around religion, especially something that black people didn't cultivate, I'm against that, right? So, and Haile Selassie, he's a very interesting person. So I don't think he's a good example. But what we need to do is pretty much just incorporate things that works for us, and they should be term limits, because there's no term limits on a president. That's why a monarchy would never work. If anyone that's familiar with Game of Thrones, I'm pretty sure Black Sea with Game of Thrones, there's the thing called the Mad King. If you have a Mad King and he could do whatever and say whatever, yeah, I'm for the people, I'm for the people. But if he backtracks and on his promises coming to the throne, you have to wait till the man dies, or there's going to be a coup. Like, we don't want that. There's a reason why there's coups, right? Especially someone who's been there for so long. No, if President Tory, Abraham Tory is there, or any African president, like, hey, look, these are my term limits. I got to do what I have to do. You know why? Or I will be removed from office, right? To me, that's a whole lot better. That's a better working model for any working, functioning government. That's pretty much it.
I just want to point out something, too. People talk about democracy. In America, there's a democracy, right? Black people are paying taxes.
Hell no, ain't democracy in America.
Black people are paying taxes. What say do they have? What do black folks get in return for paying these taxes? They went to a war the other day. Was black folks consulted?
No. But that's why when you have law, when you have lawyers, they say we're practicing law. I never understood why they say, well, we're practicing law, because it's something that they're putting in practice that is pretty much, it's supposed to be a working model. So, you're not, democracy is a working model, because from my view, my historical viewpoint, it was never meant for all people. That's why there's amendments. That's why there's bills. That's why it's always something that's supposed to be working for the better, for the betterment of its people. So that's why it's something that's in practice. So it never held its promise. And I'm not going to go off on a Malcolm X or Martin Luther King speech. It never held its promise. And that's why democracy in the westernized sense is tainted. Because when you talk about democracy, everyone thinks about Europe and America. And us as black people living in these places, we can't even we can't do that. Like, everyone needs to go to the Bitter Medicine podcast. If we go to the Discord, I was looking at religious thing that someone posted there, and it was a bunch of Nigerian Christians, And the guy was saying the reason why Nigeria, why Christianity is good, is because of the missionaries, and the missionaries brought civilization. I know I'm kind of like going off topic, but I'm saying that to say, if African people think that the standard of civilization, of democracy and religion and God is Europeanized, then yeah, we don't know what we're doing. We're being very dysfunctional. So yeah.
Go ahead, Blacksteel. Go ahead, brother.
I would say this: America is not a democracy, right? America is a constitutional republic, right? Not so much as democracy. They have democratic ideas, but then we elect representatives that represent the people, right? So that's why you have a Congress and a Senate. You have the House and the Senate that represent the people, right? You elect representatives they're supposed to support you, but that's what it's written down to be. You look at the Constitution, whatever. In reality, the United States is a plutocracy, is a corrupt plutocracy, right? Where the rule is not by the people, but by the rich people, right? So in a true democratic society, majority rules, right? So you have majority rules, but then you also have minority rights, where you have, even though you have the rule of the majority, but yet the rights of the minority are to be respected. You don't have that in the United States. Anything that the majority of the people want, 9 times out of 10, is not going to happen if the rich don't want it. So I would definitely say the U.S. is not a democracy. It's more of a plutocracy, which means ruled by the rich. It's what the rich and the wealthy people want in America that gets passed by law, not the other way around, not with the will of the people. And we can go into a law. Say what?
Do you want that in Africa?
Absolutely not. We do not want a plutocracy.
What Traore is talking about. This is what Traore is talking about.
But when he's conflating plutocracy with democracy, is not the same thing, right? You don't have a situation where. Go ahead.
America dresses up democracy. You're correct. And Provide Trigger said in the chat, America dresses up this thing called democracy, but those who know what it really is. And this is what this guy over in Africa is saying, yo, we don't want that here. We don't want that here. I'm sorry, Blacksteel, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, no, you're right. But yeah, we don't want a situation where it's only a few people who've captured the mechanisms of government, and they're able to kind of destroy the will of what the people want. And I think that's something else we have to say. We don't want to see the will of the people destroyed. We want to see what people want happen in the government to a certain degree. But I also understand, again, to my point about the precarious situation that this country is in, right? We understand they're under attack by foreign entities, by people who want to destroy their country. And when you come to a situation like that, you may have to curb some things. You know, even in a quote unquote country like the United States, during wartime, there are certain things that have to be curbed, certain individual freedoms and things like that. You may have to put a hold on that. But the expectation is that that's only in times of emergency. Even if you look at in the Roman Republic, if we're going back then, right? They didn't have a democracy, but in times of war, you could appoint a dictator like Julius Caesar, for example. He was a good example. But their fear that Caesar wouldn't leave power, that's why they ended up killing him, because they were afraid he would make himself king. Yeah, and that's why they got rid of him. But the American design is not, in my opinion, a good one, because look what happened when the Supreme Court voted in that Citizens United mess. All of a sudden, corporations are people now, and they have a voice, and them giving money is a way to express their freedom of choice. And now you have the entire government being overran by the elite, you know, the wealthy 1%ers, billionaires. But yeah, you have to have certain checks and balances. And even the checks and balances that were written into the Constitution of the U.S. are routinely ignored. So if you're going to have a government, you have to have a situation where the government represents the will and the needs of the people. And I think that Traore is doing that. Like you mentioned, he mentioned the roads. You have a country like Burkina Faso that's a very economically exploited country. When the French came, they built roads, they built infrastructure only to facilitate the theft of resources from the country. It was merely meant to be things to be extracted, not to build up the wealth of the country itself. So now Traore recognizes, he sees it, he's trying to come and create a better situation. I think that especially in a situation like this is necessary. But just hope eventually, I would like to say that we're going to come to a situation where we're no longer defending ourselves against these terrorist groups. And then at that point, we should really be talking about elections and whatnot. And if the people want to retain him as leader, that's good. But then at the same time, you have to limit yourself. Okay, I'm going to serve 2 terms and then I'm out. Or maybe you want leadership to pass to the next person after you. We don't want it to be a situation where everything is caught up in this one leader. Because then once you cut the head off the snake, then everything is over. We want a situation where you can bury the man and continue the plan. So we don't want everything as far as this revolution to be caught up in just one individual.
I think that I wish the president of Burkina Faso the best. And I don't want to be presumed as a pessimistic person, but I am old enough, and so is Koku, is old enough to see, and you say you don't want to be saddled with the people of the past, but I am old enough to live in a country under a benevolent dictator before. When he initially came to power, he did almost the same exact things as Traore. He built roads, he built schools, he built a hospital, he built many things, and people were singing his praises at the beginning of the fact that it was a new country and it was a country that was percolating at the time. But something happens when a man stays too long in office. Something happens to a man. I don't know. See, some people say absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when you have a person having that much power for that length of time, something happens to the individual human being. I don't know what it is, man. I mean, maybe it's in our DNA, in our coding. But I've seen this play before. And as a pragmatist, even Kofi on the Forbes burner in Guyana was doing the same exact things as Traore. And so is the Papa Doc. Many people don't know Papa Doc was a very good leader initially in the beginning before he eventually became what he became. And you are right. You don't want to saddle yourself with history and events or what people had to endure with other leaders. You want to separate yourself from that. But the reality is we are connected to history as well. Sometimes history repeats. And I don't want to saddle him with that kind of thing. So I don't want to speak negatively. I wish the best for that country. But I hope that I'm not watching a play that I have not lived in before. I've not lived in before. And Koku sees the results of it when he goes to Princess Margaret Hospital. And what's going on inside there. This is the results. And I live with the results of that activity of what was happening in the beginning. And I hope the best for that country. Because I'm talking out of experience. I ain't talking out of my ass. So I'm hoping and wishing for the best of that young country with a bunch of young people inside of it. And I hope that they withstand the test of time. And I will reserve my criticism until the test of time is tested. And I'll leave it there.
Bravo, man. Bravo. That's all I'm saying. This guy, Traore, is talking about we don't want outside influences because we know how they run the game. We know how they run the game. Now, to Buana's most recent point and his overall point, it's true. I was there when that regime change occurred in our hometown. In fact, that was the first time I voted. But what I would say is this. We need to make our people knowledgeable of the history. In fact, Traore himself can make the people knowledgeable of the recent history, which led him to the revolution, and then he needs to what's the term again? He needs to distance himself. No, that's not quite the right term, but he needs to operate in a way where it just distances him from the recent failures of leadership. But the people are aware what has happened before, so he needs to elevate and maintain. And as far as the term limits go, I could be crazy, but I remember when the Sahel Alliance first came to be, they talked about term limits, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember what the timing was, but let's talk about that quickly. What's a good amount of time for a revolutionist, you think? Is it 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20? What's a good period of time? And what are some of the metrics you guys think? And this is for you guys in the chat too. What's some of the metrics we should have to measure to continue from 5 to 10, from 10 to 15, etc., and so on? I'll start with Juan on that one.
But this is absolutely what I was talking about in the beginning. You should have a plan to tell your people, this is where I want the direction of my country to go. And this is the time barometers where I would have to do certain things, have certain things in place. So it not only put pressure on me to perform as a leader, but it put expectation in the eyes of the people. So I'm being pushed to do certain things. In year 1, we're going to build a hospital. In year 2, we're going to ensure that energy is done in this way. In year 3, we're going to have education. It'll be the year of education. In year 4, so people will have an expectation to what they should experience in the upcoming years. So your people ain't just blind and say, well, I just empower for power's sake. No, you should let the people know what the plans are for the certain expectations, whatever. And after you out, because I'll even give you as much space as in 10 years. You see, some people try to build one school in 10 years and how that going. Donations. But needless to say, you should have, I'll extend the time limits to 10, 15 years. This is enough time. I feel like you should vastly be able to change the direction and course of a generation of people. Someone who went to was in school from kindergarten. By year 12, they should be coming out of that classroom ready to come into the structure and all the things that I've put in place as an adult person to add to the benefit of the country. But after 12 years of being in office, and all I got to show is, well, we don't have nothing for you to do in the country. Get it how you live. There's no proper planning in there. So I think that this should be structured. And then after that time is over, you make a declaration, say, well, I will be demitting office at year 30. I will be demitting office and handing it along to anyone, whatever, who the people elect or whatever, however you all structure that. But have it set out so the people will have expectation to in terms of what's to come in year 3, year 4, year 5, and then tell the people that. Let the people them know, but this is my thinking,
Yeah, well, the question was asked to you. Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on that. Black Seal, how about you?
I would say this, right? I don't want to give a set time, right? Because we don't know what the needs of the people of Burkina Faso is, right? A true revolutionary, right? A revolutionary is the fish. The people are the water, right? We're supposed to swim and get our support from the people. So we got to look at what the people of Burkina Faso need and desire. If they want infrastructure, then we got to map and plan out a time to plan that infrastructure, right? But everything needs to be above board and transparent too. We can't be hiding stuff from people. We got to account for every cent. We got to get free of these IMF loans and what other financial attachments that we have to the Western powers, like Thomas Sankara did. So I would say this, right? Whatever time frame that you set, right, you keep it, right? No emergency extension. If we said we're gonna have elections and so on and so forth, that's when y'all have education, right? That's when y'all have that's when you have your election, and you keep your word, right? Everything has to be above board and transparent, and then reflect what it is that people want. If they need a system where they can feed themselves, I think maybe that's something that's high on their priorities, right? Open government, limited government, make sure that the people can speak to their needs and their needs are being met, and you're speaking to those people, while at the same time not just ignoring those who necessarily didn't vote your way. You're still their leader. And he had situations in the past in Africa. If you elect a leader from one particular group, then his group gets priority and everybody else gets, nothing. So I think that we do is that we just kind of have to provide the people what they need and see where we would go from. If the term is 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever. But I do think it needs to be a situation where we can get this person up out of here if it's a problem, right? We don't want a situation where this dude just running around 30, 40 years and can't nobody say nothing. And then, look at what happened and look what's going on in Togo or Equatorial Guinea. In that situation there, we got this dude, him and his whole family been running the country forever. And you can't
or Cuba.
Or you know what? Fidel Castro, when he was in
Fidel Castro came into power.
He was for a while. He's been dead.
Yeah, he was 32 years old, Black Steel. And by the time he was like in his 80s, he still was talking about when the revolution is over. Come on, bro.
But here's the thing. Revolution is a process. Revolution is a process, right? That's the truth. Revolution is not going to be over in. Revolution is a process. It's an intellectual endeavor too. It's not just let's just sit together and get guns, right? We gotta understand that revolution is a process. The Cuban Revolution is still going on. Revolution is not.
I bet it is.
It is. I'll leave it there.
Really good conversation and good participation from the chat. I couldn't read all of the comments, but shout out to Sister Cheryl. I saw Brother Bakari in the chat earlier. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Provide triggers for evolution, of course. Who has a comment on the screen now saying Cuba has had free education and a national healthcare system irrespective of the transfer of power without the existence of Western-style democracy. Lord of Sola says Cuba was blackballed. And Sister Cheryl was like, honestly, I don't think the people are educated enough to make a choice about what economically, politically, and infrastructurally are best for the nation. So good stuff, good conversations, man. I am optimistic, even though I too am a pragmatic person, but I'm optimistic that Traore will make the right moves, and the people knowing the history, and because one thing that's happening nowadays too, and you see it on social media, a lot of people are starting to connect the dots of history and recognizing the poor leadership over here. And in fact, one of the videos I played here a second ago, if you shake the hand of this other man over here, we will not be like a lot of the people are starting to connect these dots and realize these different little plays within and around these countries are important to pay attention to. So I appreciate that conversation. But for time's sake, let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2. We're gonna switch up the vibes for a little bit. Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 says Iran hip hop. Who knew? This comes with a link that takes us to YouTube. Iran hip hop. Make sure you guys could see my screen. Let's double check. Yes, you can. So we'll check this out and then we'll discuss it.
Yeah. You crossed the ocean just to find your grave. Sacrifice your own boys for a lie. Listen. Yeah. Yeah. Make America great again. Yo, Tails, this shit crazy. Yeah. Make America America great again now. We will see what happens, yeah. Watch this. Sacred defense, we protecting the soil. While you sacrifice soldiers to pay for your spoil. You first who ran the blow, sitting on your throne. Now we turning every base into a bed of stone. It's a slaughterhouse, a trap you couldn't see. Welcome to the graveyard of your vanity. The secrets are leaking. The pressure is rising. We locked on the target. And now you are hiding. LOSCR. Yeah, we spelling at your name. Send them to the slaughter, you the only one to blame. Bleeding for a puppet while you shaking in your sweet. LOSCR. Taste the ass of defeat. LOSCR. Yeah, we spelling at your name. Send them to the slaughter, you the only one to blame. Bleeding for a puppet while you shaking in your sweet. LOSCR. Taste the ass of defeat. Swag's fighting in your suit, hiding Epstein's ghost. You sent your boys to die on the bloody coast. Not a revenge for the leader's blood is purely mine. Every drop of his blood is a missile on the line. You thought you took him out, thought the fire was dead, but another common is standing ahead. Yeah, you strike one down, we just shatter your brain. We put another in the leg. Common again. The secrets are leaking. The pressure is rising. We locked on the target. And now you are hiding. LOSCR. Yeah, we spelling out your name. Send them to the slaughter. You the only one to blame. Bleeding for a puppet while you shaking in your sweet. LOSCR. Yeah, we spelling out your name. Send them to the slaughter. You the only one to blame. Bleeding for a puppet while you shaking in your sweet. LOSCR. Taste the ash of defeat. Sacred defense of the homeland. Sacred defense of the homeland. Sacred defense of the homeland. The slaughterhouse is open. Common name cash. LOSCR.
Some of y'all will be bumping the anti-Traore rap song in a couple of weeks' time. With that said, it's interesting too. Let me just read this real quick. At the end of the video, it says, "You will drown in our blood. You made a grave mistake by choosing to attack us. Among all U.S. presidents, you stand out for making one of the most reckless and misguided decisions. You underestimated the strength, resilience, and unity of our people. History will judge this choice, and it will not be in your favor. No thanks you for your attention, I guess, in this matter, the people of Iran." Cheryl in the chat says, "I'm thoroughly confused." The matron says, "Iranians are excellent propagandists. Who knew?" In the chat, Black Seal said, "This is the type of propaganda I'm falling for." Lord of Slaughter says, "I think it was AI who created." Yeah, absolutely, they used AI to create a song and the visuals. But Iranian rap as propaganda. Who do you guys think in the chat? Who do you guys think this was directed to, really and truly? Let me start with Black Seal, who made the comment in the chat. What say you to what you just heard and saw?
Well, you know, hip hop has often been the voice of protest, right? Music has often been a tool of propaganda, spreading messages, and hip hop has definitely been at the forefront of that. I think it's because hip hop has become so commercialized that we forget how it started. You know, it was really young African Black people in New York City in particular, but throughout the United States, using music as a way to express their discontent within the system. What has happened is that it has become co-opted. We no longer run it, but I think so. The Iranians, by using the hip hop, like you said, it's AI. That is what hip hop was originally meant to be used for. Was to speak to the voices of the people who didn't have a voice, you know. So I thought it was a very good video. It definitely got their point across that this war. He talked about make America great again, right? The whole point of making America great again was to focus on America, not get involved in foreign entanglements. And they said something very interesting in that video. Many U.S. presidents have been enticed to go to war with Iran. But only Trump was the one who took the belt. Obama, George W. Bush, Clinton, Biden, so on and so forth. So many other presidents have been propositioned by Israel to go to war, but they said Trump was the only one who was dumb enough to do it. And overall, like I said, it was a good video. He did his job. I hate to think what would happen in the hands of somebody who was less scrupulous, who didn't really have the people's best interest at heart. But overall, I think it does a good message. We know who the enemy is. They made the connection to Epstein. Trying to say this is all, you're being led to your destruction by a bunch of pedophiles. It kind of casts doubt, especially in the eyes of Americans and the average ordinary person. It casts doubt on what this whole thing is about. How they sort of, even when you're at wartime, you always have that person who's spreading and telling you you should go home, American, or GI, you're getting killed for no reason. Or even like during Vietnam, when the Vietnamese were like, this is not your war, black people. Why are you fighting us? You got problems to deal with at home. Why are you causing us problems? Stuff like that. That sort of imaging and messaging, it gets in people's head. And this type of stuff is very catchy. Legos, even though I used to play with Legos as a kid, but Legos are no longer a kid's toy, believe it or not. There are more adults buying Legos than there are children. And the cost of these things have skyrocketed. I used to be in Legos when I was a little kid. My mom would buy me Legos and whatnot. And they have a Lego store in the mall near here. I go into the Lego store. They got the Lego sets for $100, $150. You can buy the Lego Death Star from Star Wars. You can buy Lego Ferraris and everything. These are expensive toys. And it speaks to a sort of almost like a class issue where you had these people who enjoyed this toy as a child. They grew up. They didn't want to stop playing with their Legos. But now you have this AI video, this propaganda video. I think it's definitely going to influence a lot of people. So I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Like I said, before you sign out completely, let me just ask you a real quick question. Well, two things. Well, first a question. So do you think hip hop today can still be a tool for liberation globally, or has it been commercialized to the point where it's just lost the edge completely? A lot of Slaughter in the chat said something like, we let the European promote our culture and now it's no longer ours. Do you think that's true what a lot of Slaughter saying? Or do you think that there is something to hip hop that can still be used?
I do think it's something in hip hop that can be used, but I don't disagree with him that they've used hip hop and they've co-opted it to the point where the messaging is more negative than positive. And because African people, black people don't run these corporations, we don't run the airways and the radio and so on and so forth. What gets put out, and most people don't listen to the radio anymore, but you have the online streaming sites, you have the memes and whatnot, and TikTok, and music gets out that way. Because we don't really run these things, the positive stuff that we create doesn't get as much airplay. You got to look a little bit harder for it, but it still has the potential. But I really think every art, every form of music that black people have created has been co-opted eventually. They always take our genes and they use it against us. So hip hop does have the potential, yes, but I think that you would have to look and dig a little bit deeper to really get to the good stuff.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Let's welcome in Sister Cheryl this week. Sister Cheryl, how are you?
I'm good. Just over here making my food, just listening to y'all.
I like that. I like that. I'm about to go pour me a drink after listening to Buana in the last prompt. But in the meantime, Sister Cheryl, what did you think of that presentation just now?
Honestly, I was confused. Like, I didn't know whether this was like I was like, oh, it could be AI. I didn't know if it was actual black people doing it or like other people do it. I was so confused. Um, but I want to say like I hope everybody knows that like Middle Eastern people, they they are heavily influenced by our music over here. But usually when they try to partake in our music, they do it in their own language. And I think it's hilarious that they got their whole own language and they decide to use English. To me, because Palestine, I mean, oh, what are they? Iranians? Are they Iranian or Palestinian? Sorry, I don't know which one they are. But they could have used their own language, but they chose to use English, and I think that's noteworthy. Uh, because I don't think Iranians are whoever created this is not stupid. They're just not doing it just for fun. They're trying to reach a certain audience. Um, and I think there are a lot of Black people who join the military, and I think maybe the intended audience is people who are on the fence or who may not be sure about what the U.S. military is doing right now. Because you got a lot of people, social media, they're in the military, maybe they're questioning their purpose. Maybe they're saying things like, well, we're fighting a war for Israel, where they say things like this. So I think it's clever on their end to maybe they're trying to disrupt. I don't know. This is just a thought that I had. It doesn't have to be true. But maybe they're trying to like disrupt, create dissension in the ranks in I don't know, US military. I'm not saying it's going to be effective. I'm not even saying that it's funny, it's clever, it makes sense. But the fact that it was put out by the Iranians. They didn't use their own language. They have their own language and they rap in their own language and they decide to use English because they're trying to reach somebody specific. And Black people make up a large portion of U.S. military. And also, this wouldn't be the first time something like this has happened. Like other groups of people, when they're trying to galvanize and they're trying to fight America, or they have a problem with some of the decisions that America makes in their own country, they tend to always use kind of like Black people to give them just a little back like that. And Black people, sometimes we fall for it. We just go like, oh wow, that's wrong what they're doing to their country. I stand with Israel. I stand with, or not Israel. I stand with Iran. I stand with this country. I stand. Black people kind of we so all over the place, and this is the humanism thing coming into play here now because it's like for a Black person who is confused, who look at that, and let's say they know it's an Iranian person putting that out, they're like, yeah, we're allies with them. Okay, well, based on what? See, like Black, that's how like confused we are as a people. Some of us will look at this and think that, well, they see the problem that we see, so we must be allies. So I think they're trying. I'm not saying they're going to be successful, but I think every country's go-to is Black music and Black people when they have a problem in their own country. That tends to be this is not the first time. This is not new. But that's what I see. Doesn't have to be right, but that's what I see.
Cool. This ain't even the best one, man. They got another one they put out that showed Malcolm X loading the missile, man.
Oh, for real?
Yes,
that was hilarious.
This ain't even the best one. They had the Native Americans shoot the missile. They had the black people who had been enslaved shooting the missile. The children of Gaza shooting the missile. The children of the island. This is the good one. But their propaganda has been top tier. Joseph Goebbels, eat your heart out.
I have to look that up. That's good to hear. Sister Cheryl, let me, if you don't mind, you can say no comment if you want.
Yeah.
But where do you think Black people as a group should stand in this Iran, U.S. / Israel conflict?
I mean, it's like, I guess if that's your thing, if you want to support them, whatever. I mean, like, here's the thing: if you don't, stand with them, or if you don't have an opinion, let's say you don't have an opinion, then somebody else comes along and try to make you feel bad for not having an opinion. Like if that was the scenario, I wouldn't let nobody make me feel bad about not having an opinion. Because what it, like we got issues. We shouldn't be gaslighted into going to all of the movements and all of the stuff, putting ourselves in harm's way just to support another people when you got to put yourself first. That's it. I mean, people like to go on this thing. They like to say, they like to really use black people in the media. Oh, well, do you care about what's going on in Palestine? Or do you care about sorry, I keep saying Palestine. Iran, like, and if we say something like, no, I don't know, whatever, that's their thing. If we say something like that on a media stage and white people put us on in the media, they gonna be like, oh, you don't care, you hate them, you hate them. And I'm like, oh, here goes the gaslighting again. Here we go. Like, so to me, that's a problem. Oh, woe is them. That's messed up. We got our own problem. We gotta fix our own house. So I'm not into making anybody feel bad for not saying anything. Not so much not supporting, but just not saying anything, because we got other stuff we worried about. So that's how I feel.
No respect to that. There was no, just to be clear, from in terms of my intentions, there was no right or wrong answer for me. If you decide to kind of stand to the side on this one, but it's an interesting thing that they appeal to black folks in these things. Who was the Vietnamese? I think Black Steel mentioned the Vietnamese did that. Hey, soul brother, this is not your war. Some people might say, well, these folks are trying to use black folks, but it also could be these folks are trying to wake your ass up.
They are. They are. And
I think they're just trying to use black people. I'm sorry.
Let me if the black people in America, especially back in the day, we were more militant, right? But black people in the United States have always been seen as a fifth column, right? As a potential threat to America sovereignty. So many other countries see that. So, like, for example, during the Cold War, when the Soviet Union and the United States were striving for control, the United States was going around talking about democracy and, the free world and keeping the world safe from communism. And what the Soviets would do, they would say, well, look how you treat your Negroes. Look at how you treat the black people in your country. But yet here you claim to be spreading democracy. So many enemies of the United States have often used the conditions of black people to show the hypocrisy of Western imperialism and so-called Western civilization and advancement. The Vietnamese, the Chinese, the Russian, the Soviets, even during World War II, the Japanese, when you had, black sailors, the Japanese would be like, hey, why are you fighting us? You got your own problems. Even the Germans during the First World War, the Germans like, what's your problem? You got, and it was so funny because after World War I, you have the Red Summer of 1919, where the black soldiers were turning back from war and they were being attacked and lynched and beat on. So many foreign countries have used the plight of black people, and also too, many of the freedoms and the rights, the protests that African people have done has been used as an inspiration across the world. So many people see that and they emulate that. I always remember when the Iranian hostage crisis, they let the black people go. They didn't let because they recognized the black people were oppressed in America the same way America was oppressing them and keeping the Shah in power. So I think that there's a recognition of those struggles. That's why there's a Patrice Lumumba University, why there's a Malcolm X Street. They had one before America had one. So I do think they kind of use our images and as a way to speak to their own particular plights against imperialism.
I just want to say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like what Lexiel's saying is true. Other countries do use that. Oh, look how you treat the black people in your country. They do that. But also, how do they treat the black people in their country that have been there? China, and just about every country you can name. No black person would want to go and stay there and live out their generations for, uh, you know, you know, over anywhere else really. It's just as bad, if not worse. Um, so that's why I say that they're not doing that to help. Sorry, they're not doing that they're not putting out this type of stuff to make us wake up, because whatever country it may be, they have their own problems and they don't have time. They really don't have no time to be trying to make us wake up. This is like just war. This is like the military tactic. This is 101. Like they just throwing shots at each other. America throws shots at them, and they throw shots at America. Oh, you're so awful. When they both treat black people like crap, really. All in when you look at the whole history. Like, to me, it's just like, if you treat black people like crap in your own country, clearly you're not trying to quote unquote wake us up. Like, I don't see that at all. I don't see that whatsoever. Maybe you got a couple friends who have been Americanized that are not white and they lived in America for a while, and they feel sorry for the black plight. But in general, if you go over to that country, they not rocking with you like that, because they are for their people. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They are for their people first, above all, even if it means the exploitation of other people. And that's how we need to be.
Appreciate that, Sister Cheryl. Let's welcome in Brother Bakari this week. Brother Bakari, how are you?
What's going on, man? I'm absolutely magnificent.
Good.
I agree with Cheryl and our matron, what she put in the chat, the enemy of your enemy. Because I live by that. The enemy of my enemy is not my friend. I could just have two enemies fighting, and I'm gonna get out the way and let them destroy one another and see what I can get. And see what we can take over in the process. This and when Cheryl said about how can they talk about how black people here is treated, but then you don't treat your black people well in your country. Like when people, I have a good friend, he had to talk about Palestine. Oh, Palestinians came here and was going to teach us how to guerrilla warfare. I'm like, how do they treat the black people in their country? That's the first thing I always ask. And if you treat the black people in your country bad, you can't come to me and tell me you don't like the way I'm treated. Because if you treat your people and your black people in your country bad, if you had an opportunity to treat me bad, you would do the same thing. So this AI video, it is funny. I'll give them that. It's funny. They didn't put out a couple of them. That was funny. One I thought was disrespectful toward the end. They put MLK, Malcolm X, and they had a couple more people and got them dressed in Iranian garb. I don't understand why they had to be dressed in Iranian garb. But hey, that's me. But to me, it's funny. I think they're using black people because they know how they'll use this. They know how black people is treated in this country. So it's a good time to use this, right? Because if they felt that way and black people been treated a certain way in this country, you didn't put out your AI videos until Israel and the United States start bombing your ass. Then you going back and forth with Trump. Now you want to put it out and act like you worry about the black folk over here. Because if you would have done it a long time ago. Not that I'm expecting them to worry about me. You know, I don't think what we go through is other people's business. And I don't think what other people go through is our business. And that's me. But like I said, Those AI videos, they are funny. They are funny to me. And that's what I have to say about it.
Appreciate that, Brother Bakari. In the chat, Trigger Happy says, sometimes the analysis from Black people in these conflicts could just be assessing particular bouts of weakness in American imperialism and openings for us, which is what Bakari basically said as well. Trigger goes on to say, me wanting one party to win over another is just thinking in a manner that helps our endeavors eventually. AES is trying to get defense capabilities from Iran, for example, and that's big. Shout out to Sister Ross. Sister Ross, I haven't seen you around in a while. Sister Ross says, stand out. They killed we people who were on those lands and killed most of our people there. Lotta says, I will go back. I will go to Africa. D-Web is out there. Shout out to D-Web. From the Harsh Rally podcast. He says, peace, family. Hope everyone is well. Someone else was here for a second and they left, but Buana, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to Iranian hip hop? Who knew?
Yeah, I think that Iranians, this war is this video was a propaganda video. I think it was a propaganda video for the hearts and minds of not necessarily the Black Americans in America. I think they use Black American music, but I don't think that was necessarily specifically for Black American people, because they were speaking in English, and many other parts of the world speak English, and they and listen to hip hop as well, and find this is catchy, it's relatable, and it's in English. So for all the so-called Black people in the world who are oppressed, who speak English, they find this very relatable, especially with the use of animation. The use of animation was very interesting in this video, very interesting. And in terms of the hearts and minds, I understand that the Americans want to be nationalistic, but what about the rest of the world? They're going to see this war as an act of attrition. If I'm living in a country and someone attacks me for no reason and murders the children in my community or whatever, I have a right to defend myself about that, especially the people who doing it and pointing the finger at us are pedophiles and all kinds of things. I think that speaks to something, because no one likes a pedophile. No one. So I think that this and also too, for the people who are in the world who don't necessarily understand why this war is being waged, because many people don't understand that. And Fox News have their daily dose, their daily narrative of why they decided to attack a country that didn't attack them. So I think that with animation and music, this video is very instructive. It's very instructive. So you want to win a war on different kinds of fronts. You want to win the war of attrition in terms of bombing and things like that. But you also want to win a war for hearts and minds of people to galvanize behind you, because people want to claim who's right in doing what they did. And of course, to attack someone who didn't attack you, they have a justification. So you have to tell the people or inform the people, not only in the country and not only in America, but in the Western world, why they decided to do the things that they do. Because when American bodies are being sent back in coffins, you have to give justification for that. You have to give justification for that. You can't just react and defend yourself. And now Americans are being sent home in coffins, and you have no justification for it. And where much of the Western world are ill-informed, uninformed in terms of international matters, and they wouldn't watch a thing like Professor Zhang. They wouldn't watch a professor speaking and things like that. This is simplified, broken down to its base basic kind of level of why what is happening is occurring. And I think that people should be aware of things like this. And I think that they're doing a brilliant job of it. Millions of people are watching this video, millions. And there are millions of people who are in support of anyone have a right to defend their country, to defend themselves, to defend the people in it, whether you agree with their politics or not. And the Americans would feel the same exact way if someone was to come and bomb their country and blow up their school full of children, blow up a school full of children. Everyone would get behind them. The world would get behind them. But in this case, you see the world turning away when Trump asks for support in going to their country and looting and pillaging and doing what they do. So I think that is an instructional video. I think it's a justification kind of video. And I think that they are doing an effective job because of the millions of eyes this thing is actually getting. So I think that the usage of hip hop is just goes to the point that hip hop is a global phenomenon, and it could be very useful to dumb down the people, but also to instruct the people as well. They use hip hop and they use animation to tell a story, and it's very wise to do so. It's very wise to do so. What is Trump's response? Is he going to get Kid Rock to to create an album against the Iranian people? Who knows? A country musician.
Well, they've already done some. They already took some of the imaging from the strikes they've done on Iranian missiles and whatnot, and they put the from the video game Call of Duty, and they had some music to it. So they've done their own share of propaganda too. But they're using connection to video games. I think it was very wise for Iranians to use Lego, because Lego is actually the #1 selling toy in the world. So I think that was very interesting that they used Legos. But U.S. is doing propaganda too by using video games and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. They're gonna volley. They're trying to win the hearts and minds of people, but you have to give reason why people are being killed or unalived. When American soldiers are being unalived, you have to give reason for that. When children in a high school are being, or a primary school are being bombed, the America have to give justification for that, because these are war crimes. So you have to, and nobody is trying to make no one feel bad. But you have to give justification why people are actually dying, needlessly dying. You have to give justification and reason for that, or you'll end up in the Hague. Who knows what's going to happen? Trump already then says he is going to preemptively pardon all the people who have been, what do you say, 10 feet in the White House. He's going to preemptively pardon it at the end of his place in office. He's going to preemptively pardon all those people. So obviously he's signaling to everyone, you could commit any crime that you want to commit, because I'm going to pardon you at the end of my time in office. This is the statements of a criminal. But needless to say, it's this kind of international politics I really try to stay away from. So
Why you're so good at it? Why?
Nah, man, nah. This is shoot the breeze. We shooting the breeze. I will keep it light. You know.
And by the way, thanks for that one. I made a mistake. I was supposed to put 2 prompts together and I didn't. So Black Steel just reminded me the next prompt was going to be this one here, and I think this might be the video Black Steel and them are talking about. And the prompt for this video was, on a scale of 1 to 10, how effective is this propaganda? So I'm going to play it, and I'll just ask everyone to give me afterwards to give me a scale of 1 to 10, how effective this video is.
The volume, the music. We couldn't hear anything, Coco.
It's okay. The images are enough. I don't need to hear it.
Man, that was some good shit, man. Run that back. I want to see that again.
Yeah, Lord of Slaughter gives it a 10 already out the gate. Let's just go right down the line. Brother Bakari, what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 10? The propaganda here.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I don't know, they get about a 10. I'm gonna rock with Lord of Slaughter. 10.
All right, 10. Sister Cheryl.
I'm not trying to be all extra. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The Legos is killing me. Like, I just real quick. Like, y'all know I'm a millennial, right? Like, that's when the live action Lego thing was just like starting. I was like an adult when it was just starting. So, like, all right, real quick. If you are a, if you're in your late 30s and up, I'll give it I give it a 3. But if you like Gen Z and younger, I give it an absolute 10.
Oh, you being a hater, Cheryl.
Unless you're a gamer and you're really into that Lego stuff, I mean, you an outlier, bro.
I feel convicted. Oh snap! Oh, she got me. All right, you got me.
All right. One, what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 10?
No, I do give it a 5. And Cheryl and Brother Bakari, they say something to me that make me understand something. Because if you've been around Muslims before, these cuckers, when do they care about Malcolm X, man? They don't care about the issues. It is absolutely the truth, man. It's the truth. But they find us to be useful now. So they figure they can put us in videos and shit like that. So I feel them when they do say that shit. I feel them.
Hold on,
I do feel them.
Wano, what you call them? We call them cookers? That's what you said?
Oh, cocksuckers.
Oh,
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
What?
drinking. Forgive me, Shirley. Forgive me.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a new word. I was about to use that.
Nah, I say cocksuckers. Nah. Forgive me for the foul language. Yes.
Nah, you straight.
That was my grandfather's favorite term. Black Seal, what would you give it on a 1 to 10?
Man, I give this shit a 12, man. Inject this into my veins. I need this. So, couple things. First of all, the imagery they're using and the connections they're making are absolutely incredible, right? First, I would say this, right? Much of the Muslim world holds Malcolm X in high regard. Because, he went, when he split from the nation and he started traveling, throughout Africa and Asia and whatnot, meeting different African heads of state. And, he also went to Mecca as a Muslim to do his Hajj. So especially Iran, again, they have universities and schools and statues named after Malcolm X. So many majority Muslim countries hold Malcolm in high regard. Not because he was black, but because he was Muslim. And I think he spoke to the oppression of African people through a Muslim point of view, right or wrong. That's what he did. And I think it made many people in the Muslim world connect with him. But I like how they made the connections to different groups of people who have been victims of U.S. or let me go even Western imperialism. Talked about Native Americans. It talked about those girls who were just killed. The very first opening strike in this war that Trump started, they blew up a school, a girls' school, right? And the U.S. tried to make it say it was an accident. We were going off of faulty information. But we all know the modus operandi of the U.S. is terror, right? I believe that was very much intentional. They blew up that school because the Israelis they've blown up every school in Gaza. They've blown up they're attacking schools and hospitals in Lebanon. This is their plan to destroy the civilian infrastructure. So I don't believe that was an accident. They also referenced an Iranian flight. It was a passenger flight that was shot down over the Persian Gulf by a United States destroyer. And it was a civilian craft. 200 people on board the plane died. And it was a very famous speech by George H.W. Bush, where he said, "I will never apologize for the United States of America," right? Even though they killed this flight and they killed all these young people, right? He said, "Well, I will never apologize to the United States of America," whatever the fuck. So I'm glad they brought that up. Just the overall connections they were making with the role of the United States in much of the world's struggles and how they've undeveloped, that they've attacked and used the dollar. How they show the dollar crumbling, right? That was in reference to the petrodollar. The United States' dollar has been the world's reserve currency, but the United States uses the power of that reserve currency and the petrodollar to sanction other countries. So I think that their issue is they're trying to break out from under the thumb of U.S. imperialism. That's what the whole BRICS movement was about. We're trading in our own currency. We're not going to use the dollar anymore. So I think that the imagery that is showing that these are all connected struggles and their goals. They showed the statue of Trump crumbling, the dollar crumbling. That was one. I don't think it was this one. Showed the Washington Monument crumbling. That was one thing they had. It showed the Statue of Liberty. It had the head of what's the demon? Baphomet, and it was destroying that because their understanding of the United States and Israel too can going to tie them as the great Satan, right? And we understand Satan to be the devil or whatever, Lucifer, but also too Satan also means adversary. So when they refer to the great Satan, they refer to the United States as the great adversary and as someone to be overcome. So I think that just the imagery of it does a real good job of spreading the message, connecting the other ongoing struggles, previous struggles, future struggles. Again, it's really good, really well done. Really good imagery. I'll leave it there.
Black Steel. Here's what I don't want. I don't want to associate the actions of United States government with the people on the ground. See, if I was to come to you or Brother Bakari or Amma, and I would ask you all, do you all think it's right to bomb a school full of girls? Of course, you all could say no. Of course. Well, I don't know. Well, no, I'm thinking, of course, you all could say no, right? But the fact that you all have an American passport, right? People in the world will associate regular Americans with what their government is doing. And that is wholly unfair. But on the other side of that, I don't want to try to instigate or try to separate the typical American from their government, because every citizen have a right to be loyal to the government. I know, Brother Makari. Every citizen have a right to love their country and associate themselves to the country where they come from. So you don't want to, you want to just walk that middle line, because it's like we talking on topics that we seem like we pro-Iranian, but we're not pro-Iranian. We pro-justice. Right is right and wrong is wrong. When the Muslims bombed September 11, the empire, the towers on September 11, the whole world got behind that because they saw it as an injustice. It was an outright injustice to the world. So they was willing to send their boys or their girls anywhere where these people were who were to commit such an atrocity. Well, in the same regards, the Iranians, when they are bombed, when a school full of girls are bombed, this is an atrocity. And the world should get behind that atrocity, no matter where it comes from, because right is right and wrong is wrong. So it's so international. These international discussions are very complicated and complex, because you don't want to see him anti-American, and my American brethren don't want to see him to be disloyal to their country.
Why not? I'm anti-American.
Depends on who you're talking to. Depending on who you're talking to, Black Steel. Depending on who you're talking to. It depends on who you're talking to. This is a Fat African channel, but it depending on who you're talking to. So it just, you have to walk a tightrope, man. You have to walk a tightrope. I'm telling you, man.
But see, but Bwana though, and Lord of Slaughter brings up a good point. People don't see African Americans as the people who committed the crimes against America. You can you can go all the way back, and I mean all the way back to when America first started colonizing overseas, right? Spanish-American War. Black people, black soldiers were the first ones up San Juan Hill in Cuba. Black soldiers fought in the Philippines to try to bring the Philippines under control. And then many black soldiers saw how the white Americans treated the Filipinos, right? So you had many black U.S. servicemen who defected, who left the U.S. Army and started fighting alongside the Filipinos. There's a black man from Tampa, Florida, by the name of David Fagan. He actually was he actually left the U.S. military and was fighting in the mountains in the Philippines, guerrilla warfare style against America. So even from the very beginning, black people knew that we were soldiers for the empire, but we don't reap the same benefits. We can go all down the list about how black soldiers were denied the GI Bill after World War II, how they were lynched in their uniforms after World War I, how their recognition, their accomplishments. So I think that the world kind of sees how black people are treated. And then they recognize, okay, so we don't see you as American based on how they treated you. All right. I'll leave it there.
Can I say something?
Of course you can.
I'm sorry, Bakari, just real quick. I also like the inclusion of the Native American in that piece. So I like comedy, right? One of the things that I always crack up about is when a person tells a joke and I say to myself, I wish I had thought of that. That's so clever. One of the things about this video that we just watched that I appreciate and saddened by at the same time is, again, we're being outworked. How come we aren't putting out, black folks now, I'm talking about Pan-African, Gavia, etc. How come we aren't putting out these types of messages? Black Steel made the point. Lego is it's the top selling kids toy worldwide, right? As far as gamers go, I think Call of Duty and Fortnite is up there. How come we haven't done something similar to kind of educate and kind of promote this idea that we all seem to subscribe to? That's what I wanted to add. Bakari, go ahead.
Yeah, I see. I was listening to it, Black Steel was saying I listened to Buwana. Buwana say, you know, most people say blowing up a girl's school is bad. Yep, we'll say it's bad. But we can also say it happens in war. And even if you're not in war, it happened to our people here, right? The church bombings with the little girls in Birmingham, Alabama. This is what these people do. But I say this is what these people do on both sides. Cheryl put in the chat, say, little did they know the Philippines wiped out majority of their indigenous population. And I understand Black people being mad with the United States. Should be mad with the world. And that's why I say when we choosing sides, we have to look at how our people is being treated over there by those people, right? Remember that picture I sent you, Coco, of my brother from Thailand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If people see him, you wouldn't know should he just look like a brother, could be from your neighborhood, right? And he's Thai, but he tell me about their oral history. I know Coco will say they ain't Black because they've been gone long. Kofi, I mean. But anyway, and he tell me about their oral history and how they're African. And he say when you go to Asian countries, if y'all ever hear, they always talking about Black people in the mountains, right? Have y'all ever heard that? If they talking about China, anywhere, the Black people live up in the mountains, right?
They call them Negritos, the little Black people.
So I'm gonna tell you why he said they lived in the mountains in Thailand. Because people was trying to destroy them. When war broke out, they went to the mountains and they had a small, and that's where they had to survive. So when we looking and we saying we gonna take up for these people, do we ever wonder why our people don't live around the rest of the people? Why the Black people in the Philippines ain't around the rest of the Filipinos? Do we ever look and take that? And that's why I say I'm a believer in the enemy. I don't believe in the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I believe I have two enemies fighting, and we supposed to be trying to see what we can take advantage of. And I understand that Black Steel say something about I think that was Black Steel who said something about they released the Black hostages first in Iran. That's political. All that is propaganda too. Yeah, they let them loose. Now it's not just they let them go. They let them go. They know what they're doing. We don't. And I understand we want to see somebody stand up to America. But have you ever thought about that? Why? All the countries, I don't care if they're supposed to be socialists or whatever country they are. Why ain't none of these countries, including us, because I'm very critical of Africans who haven't tried to even build a military to defend yourself. Why is it a group of people can just come take your stuff and settle there and make it theirs? Why? I know what they did to us. But then they can just go do it to everybody else. Nobody else in the world thought like, damn, we need to build a military to keep these people off our neck.
Speaking of that, brother Bakari. Speaking of the oh, sorry, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Especially the African nations haven't even tried to defend themselves. That's all I was gonna say. I'm done.
Yeah. So just to add to what you're saying, I don't know if you're aware, because since we just finished talking about Burkina Faso, and I know you don't agree with outside influence, but Russia just pulled up to Burkina Faso with a warship full with weapons to defend their country and build their military. I don't know if you saw that. You know, they barred the Russians from coming to Burkina Faso, and Burkina Faso just got a supply artillery from Russia to build up their military. They just did it, you know. So I think it's interesting that you mentioned that because my man is trying to get all the guns he could get in that country right now. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that.
And he should, but they need to be building them. See, ain't nobody gonna take care of you but you. Ain't nobody. Watch this. What was the main? What gun did the Afghans did the Afghani use? Where did they get their weapons from?
They made it.
No.
AK-47.
The Soviets. The Soviets.
Russia. Who controlled them? Who used to control them? Russia. They had to come to America, get Russia off their back. Man, I'm just saying. If you look, Thomas Sankara said one time, "He who feeds you controls you." If they got to protect you, they control you. I'm not saying don't use nobody, but if you are not trying to build your own, in which I believe in a thing that me and Koku was reading, we was going over, I believe Burkina Faso is, but I know it was countries that said they weren't taking no more weapons from Russia nor China because they were not giving them good weapons. Whatever, if they got the weapons, they had to learn to fix them and break them down and start making their own because the weapons were no good. The only thing I'm saying is, man, look, if you don't do it, if you don't fix you, and you depending on somebody from the outside to fix you, and we think they're different. Oh, they're Eastern European and Asian. Okay. Let me ask you, what's the purpose of an ally? Wouldn't Patrice Lumumba in Congo, wouldn't they supposed to be allied with Russia?
No. But but here's the thing, Patrice Lumumba was a part of the non-aligned movement, right? So basically, you had countries that was neither with the West or the Soviets. But the Belgians felt that Lumumba's actions of nationalizing the Congo's resources that put him into the Soviet camp, and so that's why they knocked him off and put him in Mobutu. But he wasn't allies with the Russians, but he wasn't enemies with the Soviets either. Excuse me.
So, because the only thing I'm saying is I hear people keep saying allies. Because, for the longest I thought they were allies, but are supposed to have been an ally. But what's the purpose of an ally when they can't come help you when you being destroyed? I don't know, man.
Hey, Bakari, you sound like Trump. You sound like Trump with NATO.
you see, but here's the thing. I don't sound like Trump because Trump did that. Trump told him to hell with y'all. I'm gonna break all this up. We don't need y'all. That's what Trump told the people that won't help them now. I'm talking about the people. Man, I don't know, man. I just see things a little different than other people. I just do believe I just do believe that everybody have an agenda, and I believe if somebody have to make your weapons, they ain't gonna ever give you anything to defend yourself against them. That's just.
You know what? Everybody does have an agenda, and we're not looking for friends. Dr. John Henry Clark always said Black people have no friends, but I don't think we really need any friends. We just need each other. And I think that whatever weapons, artillery, whatever you can get that you can use, because the Russians got their own play. The Russians want to keep the United States from having control in Africa, right? They want a multipolar world. The U.S. wants a unipolar world. They want to be the ones to call the shots. So I think between these two countries, these two ideologies fighting, sometimes, and let's be honest, Black African nations aren't in the position to really manufacture stuff at a large scale like this. We don't have that industrial power. So get what you can, use what you can, but at the same time, build up your own. So like you're saying, Bakari, you don't need to have to import weapons from from Russia, which is not, I'm not gonna say, I'm gonna say Russia, not the Soviets, because one reason why the Soviet Union was the country they got weapons from, because the Soviets were anti-imperialistic, not always, but there was some wiggle room where you can get some stuff from the Russians if the U.S. don't want to play ball. When you had these two competing superpowers back during the Cold War, there was some wiggle room. But under a unipolar system that we have now, where the U.S. has full spectrum dominance, and it's our way or the highway. So I think that we have to kind of see what we can get out of these situations and take advantage of it.
And you know what I see now? You're right. Take advantage of it. And I don't have a problem with taking advantage of it. But we don't have to go back to the Berlin Conference no more talking about the scramble for Africa. Russia, the U.S., China. Because we have, in all these years, have not even attempted. See, we say we don't have. We haven't even tried because we let so many people, because we let everybody control us, man. In all these years, you haven't even attempted. People can say what they want to say about white folk. We can say whatever we want to say. But when you study them folk history and you see how the French controlled England for like 140 years, it was illegal to speak English even in England. They had to speak French and so on and so. Man, them people fought. We can say what we want to say, and this ain't me trying to put them on a pedestal. But man, the people that put you in this position ain't gonna take you out this position. And all these years, man, all these years of so-called alleged we independent, in all these years, man, we haven't even tried to build nothing.
Brother Bakari, I want you to do me a favor, brother. I want you to do me a favor. When you have time, I want you to study the Grenada Revolution. Study that, come on. Look it up. Okay? Because just study it. Study it. Because the people have tried that. And Ronald Reagan sent this is the first time a Caribbean island actually they tried to fight a war against America, bro. They just was unsuccessful at it. We tried it. We tried it in Haiti to be completely independent. You know what I mean? We try it, brother. We did try it. Don't say that, bro. I tell you what, just study the Grenada Revolution.
African nations haven't tried to build a military to defend themselves, is what I said. That's what I'm talking about.
Defend themselves now.
Okay.
I would say so. Look what. Okay, I would say this in South Africa they did when they were fighting apartheid. That's what the ANC was about, right? Building a military, and they were very effective. What happened in Rhodesia during the so-called Bush War? You do have
Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. Formerly Rhodesia, the Rhodesian Bush War. Now is Zimbabwe, the proper name. Return to the country. So, but to your point, Bakar, I see other countries trying to use, trying to fight economically, right? The Chinese and the Russians and the whole BRICS movement, and they're fighting diplomatically, but they're not fighting militarily. And it's not just African people, because look what happened. If you have a country that, for example, that is economically strong, but if you got another country that can just walk in and just bomb you, kill your president, kidnap your president, you know what I'm saying? That's you got to be willing to challenge them militarily. And there's only a few countries that's willing to do that. North Korea, they bought a nuke. Okay, Iran, they got their missiles, their drones, everything else. But very few countries are in a position to really challenge the full spectrum dominance of the United States. A country that spends 10 times more on its military than the next 10 countries combined. So U.S. spends more money on its military than the next 10 countries combined. So we're talking about trillions of dollars. Most countries don't have the money to spend like that. But at the same time, they create things, to be defensive. So I don't really see a global effort to really challenge that dominance.
And that's all I'm saying, man.
And that's a good point. And a lot of people see how unstable Trump is, and they're starting to kind of realize, oh shit, we're in trouble. When the prime minister of Germany is asking for all U.S. troops to be removed from German soil. That's 50,000 men. If they wanted to take over Germany, they could. Now, because after World War II, they were saying, "Oh well, you don't have an army, but you can trust the U.S. to handle your defense for you." And now we got a lunatic like Trump at the reins of power. Now they're reconsidering. It's too late now. It's not. I just use Germany as an example, but there's other countries that made that same deal with the U.S. Japan's another one. Taiwan's another one. There was one country. I think Switzerland. They had bought some jets from the U.S. and they sent the money, and the U.S. didn't send the jets. So like they're realizing, oh shit, we trusted the U.S. to uphold our security, and now they're giving us the middle finger.
So like
militarily.
Let me ask you a question, right quick, Bwan. Didn't Trump bomb Nigeria already?
Yes, he did. He did. Yep, against those so-called protecting Christians.
We didn't have a pebble to throw.
Well, I think that they were trying to say the United States was acting against the insurgents or those people who were attacking Nigerian citizens.
Now, I remember Somalia. Somalia messed them up.
Yeah.
Now, that's the one I was happy about. Somalia. Go ahead, Bwan.
Militarily, the United States, and this is a true statement, militarily, America could fight against the whole world, the whole friggin' world, and still win. Militarily.
Nah, but
this is a fact.
No,
this is a fact. This is fact. Let me explain why I say that. Let me explain. Let me explain. No, let me explain. Let me say it blackly. Hear me out. There is no competition based off a naval military who could compete with the United States. None. No countries. Explain and mention one.
Okay. So you said naval power, right?
Yeah, on waterways.
Okay, so the United States Navy is the biggest naval force in the world, right?
Absolutely.
But you got to remember something too. The United States has been bad at asymmetrical warfare. You don't need to go. It's not World War II aircraft carrier versus aircraft carrier. You don't need to do all of that to take down a naval ship. Good example, right? I know we've been talking about the Iran situation, right? The largest United States aircraft carrier, I think it's the Gerald Ford, right? It was recently in the Mediterranean Sea. Now they claim, quote unquote, there was a fire in the laundry room and they had to withdraw, right? I don't believe it. I believe they hit that thing. The Iranians hit it. Now think about it. You have a multi-billion-dollar weapon of war, the most advanced technology, getting hit by $25,000 drones that can easily be made. So I think that going head to head would be a stupid idea. But why would you go head to head with them? They lost in Iraq, they lost in Afghanistan, they lost in Vietnam. And then what happens when they lose in this case? They go pick on little small countries like Grenada, like what they did in Cuba. They're doing in Cuba. They're getting the ass whipped by Iran. So let's go fuck with Cuba, right? It's like a big bully. The United States military can be defeated. It can be challenged. They talk a lot of shit, but they're only good at killing people who are weaker than them. Against a country.
I don't think they lost in Iraq though.
Well, what were their objectives? I mean, to me, when I say they lost, that means they didn't achieve their objectives.
I'm gonna tell you why I say they did, because they have military bases in Iraq.
Right now.
That's why I say they
okay, fair enough.
Because after that war, see, I'm gonna tell you something. You know what? See, what Black Steel just said is real though. When he said Germany, people leaving Germany, that's 50,000 soldiers. Germany want them gone, right? You know why the United States don't mess with North Korea? Now, of course, they don't tell you this till you go there. And I wasn't even on the DMZ. You know why they don't mess with North Korea? Because they know they will lose about 20,000 soldiers within a day, 2 days. Where I was stationed, and I'm going to say it again, I was not on the DMZ. Excuse me.
You were in Korea, Bakari?
Yeah, I was stationed in South Korea.
Okay.
Where I was stationed, if war broke out, my life expectancy was 8 minutes.
Damn.
They don't tell you that till you go there, of course.
God damn.
The war. So, Bawana, when you say they can whoop, when you say they can whoop the whole world, I understand you talking about their military and how big it is, but they have spread themselves so thin. It's like business, like you're doing a business. You can't do everything. You good at this? Focus on this. Build this up, then try something else. You can, but they are spread. That's why Iran is hanging in there. Iran can't go head up with the United States, but Iran is smart. You know what they did?
Cut off the Strait of Hormuz.
And they
economics.
And they started bombing those Arab countries that have military bases, U.S. military bases there. Why you think they talking about in Kuwait, the U.S. military was abandoning bases trying to get to hotels, and people owning the hotels was telling them no, because wherever they went, Iran was bombing. Iran just started bombing those little bases right around them. And that's what would happen. And we have in the U.S. have spread it themselves so thin. That's what will happen, Bawana, because they are everywhere.
And they are everywhere. But see, the difference between the war that Iran is fighting, which I think is very smart, by the way, they're not fighting a military style war with the United States, which is very intelligent. They're fighting an economic war with the United States, which is very different. All you have to do is cut off that strait and destroy all of the partners in the surrounding areas. And then when the dollar, don't you know the Japanese and all these other people are negotiating to get oil out of the Strait of Iran in Chinese yen, not the petrodollar. That destroys the American economy. You know what I mean? So if you could destroy the American economy without, they're not fighting strategically on a military level, they're fighting economically. There are different types of war. There's biological war, there's economic war, there's ideological war, there's all with the cartoons we just was watching just a minute ago, there's all kind of different fronts you could fight a war on. And I think that this is the difference, because when your opponent is greater and stronger than you, you can't fight him in the same regular way like Russia or China fighting with the United States. That's an impossible battle. So you got to fight them strategically. And this is the reason why when I have discussions with you, I say it's other ways to fight, brother. It's other ways to fight. It's other ways to fight.
And I agree it is. But you know what my concern is now? When they shut this government down over here for because they don't want to give nothing to ICE, right? Even Republicans have come out and said the Democrat created deals that could have got TSA paid, but they want to keep funding ICE. I'm gonna tell you right now, with an idiot like this in office, and he want extra power, don't be surprised if he turn ICE loose on his citizens. They'll already put like 175 $175 billion into ICE. So I think we need to be prepared here, because the dude is crazy. And I agree with what Black Steel said. They effing up over in Iran. They gonna find something small to attack. When he said, because I think it was Black Steel who said this too, about when he said if you and Black Steel may have said it, about if you was within 10 feet of the Oval Office or something like that, he gonna basically give you a pardon, and he telling those people, you can just go commit crime. I'm gonna tell you what go back to me, and that's why I'm steady stocking up. And by the way, there's an ammo shortage, so you need to start getting some. Yes, again. So you need to start getting you some. I can help you get some cheap, for real. I can help you get some pretty good ammo at a good price. That's what we need to be doing.
So you see this, so with the midterms coming up, Bakari, and like you said, what he said that they're gonna try to pardon everybody because he knows they're about to be committing crimes, right? But did you hear that they shutting down the forestry service? So like the department that covers like the forest and forest fires and they shut it down. Why? And then they're gonna divert the money to fund ICE. It reminds me of when you have a business that's going out of business, and they try to sell everything, and that's what Trump is doing. It seems like, but like you said, he knows his administration is committing crimes. He doesn't care, and the people involved are committing crimes. And his fear is that when a new administration comes, which a new administration will probably show up. But I think he don't have nothing to be afraid of because ain't nobody finna hold his.
Oh no! I disagree with that completely.
What? Nah, bro.
I think that Trump underestimates America, and y'all brothers correct me if I'm wrong if I talking out of turn, but Trump vastly underestimates America. America is a revolutionary country.
Nah,
it's born. Let me finish, Black Steel. You could correct me. It's born out of friggin' revolution, bro. It's born out of revolution. If Trump, he could only go so far with ICE, and I think that he is fomenting a civil war in the United States. He is fomenting that, brother. And if he thinks that the Democrat or people who think inclined to think that we are so weak that he is going to be able to walk around like a king, I'm telling you, brother, America is a revolutionary country. They've unalived presidents before. I'm telling you, man, it's going there,
Listen, brother, let me tell you something. America is a counter-revolutionary country. There's a really good book by Dr. Gerald Horne. He talks about it's called The Counter-Revolution of 1776. And long story short, in the book, he talks about the reasons for the American Revolution were not revolutionary at all, but they were really reactionary. So let me give you an example. I know I don't want to be long-winded. I'm gonna try to wrap this up. So there was a case in Great Britain called the Somerset case, right? Where a black person, I think it was a black woman, went to England and sued for her freedom. So, and she won, actually. So there's Dr. Horne saying that the Somerset case set a legal framework for emancipation. So that was part of the reason why the 13 colonies rebelled. Also, at the end of the French and Indian War, the American colonists were forbidden to go west of the Appalachians and take land from the Native Americans by proclamation of King George. United States wanted to expand further west. So here you got the king and his soldiers keeping white people confined to the 13 colonies. Fuck that. Who was the largest landowner in the colonies? George Washington. He wants that land. You mean to tell me I can't go west and get more land? So many of the as far as America being a revolutionary country, they are counter-revolutionary. The success of the 13 colonies is a step backwards for the world, for world revolution, because what they had, brutal slavery, stealing of indigenous land, what are they doing now? So I would not argue that they're counter-revolutionary. America had more guns than people. If white people wanted to bust a grape, they could bust a grape, but those weapons that they got is all posturing. Those weapons are for them to kill black people. If black people get out of line, the weapons ain't for the government. They're not.
Black Steel, if that was true, why that guy almost take the president head off, bro? And the guy who shot at the president when he was
staged, man. We shot him in the ear. That was staged.
Okay, all right. But people died then. People died though. But I would say this. He is not the only president. He is not the only person that tried to take a shot. What about Reagan? What about Abraham Lincoln? What about JFK? Americans have historically, when they felt aggrieved, have gotten rid of the leadership. That's historical, brother.
So look at that. Okay, you mentioned JFK. Lee Harvey Oswald, I don't believe he's working by himself or whatever. I believe that the people who killed Kennedy, and this is let me put my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory hat on. The Mossad killed Kennedy because he was against letting Israel get nuclear weapons. I believe, and that's just my tinfoil hat theory. I don't believe it was some Americans expressing their grievance. They basically, that was a foreign government. Same thing. If you look at all the presidential assassinations, right, it's usually just like one dude who's pissed off because he didn't get something. Like the dude who shot Abraham Lincoln. He was mad because he was a Confederate sympathizer, and he thought that Lincoln was going to have the black people take over, whatever the fuck. Or the dude who shot Garfield. He was due a captain position. It's not no revolutionary. The dude who shot Ronald Reagan. He was in love with Jodie Foster, and he wanted to get her attention. He was a crazy dude. He wasn't trying to foment no real revolution in America. He was trying to get Jodie Foster's attention because he thought she was cute. So he don't
Yeah, but Black Steel, you just mentioned to me the other week that the greatest threat to national security is these white militia groups. That's what you told me.
Yes, yes, that's true.
And most of these people, what do they want to do? They want to take over the friggin' government.
Yeah, but again, it is counter-revolution. They want to take over the government and destroy it and get rid of the Constitution. They want to take over the government and install a Christian theocracy. They don't want to take over the government and abolish private property and install a social and socialized medicine. They want to set up a government where Christ is king, and if you ain't Christian, you got to die. So again, they're Christ is king. You laughing, but a lot of these, I call them the American Taliban. Everything the Taliban does, they love it, except it's just instead of Allah, they want Jesus in charge. That's it. The only difference.
You know what? I agree, Black Steel. They're the greatest terrorists in the world, and always talking about somebody as a damn terrorist.
What's his name? Pete Heck, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, is legit covered in white nationalist tattoos. He got the Crusader cross on his chest. He got some other tattoos identifying white nationalism. So this dude is an open white supremacist. He's in charge of the military. He's blocking black generals from getting promotion just because they, So no, U.S. is counter-revolutionary, man. There's these people killing all these white nationalist groups. They want to bring back slavery. Is what they really want.
And that would create another. So see, Brother Bakari, not Brother Bakari, Black Steel. If the right wing people have their way, they're gonna remove all of the civil rights gains of the 1965 situation, and they're gonna go back. The response to that will be many black people and Indian people and colored non-white people who are gonna rebel against that. First of all, that's the first thing. And white people, by the way, who are married to black people, who are black persons adjacent. And I'm saying to you that the further right that the United States goes, there is going to be a fomenting of opinions in the United States where people are going to rebel against that. They're just not going to stand for that. Do you think that black people in 2026 are going to go back to Jim Crow and just eat that? Damn, I don't believe so.
Well, how much further right we got to go? We already got the concentration camps. How much further right we got?
I don't see the no blacks allowed signs yet. Call me Black Steel when no Negroes should have to drink in this water in 2026. When that shows up, then we'll see.
That's a real great conversation. I let that conversation go because it was an opportunity to discuss what's going on in the world, in the news and stuff today. And we also got to talk about the propaganda thing. If you guys will allow me, I want to do one more prompt. A bit of a...
Hold on. Sorry for cutting you, Coco. But Shirley has asked me if I've lived in the United States before. I can tell you the places I live in the United States. I've lived in Kentucky. I've lived in Florida. I've lived in New York. I've lived in Michigan. I went to South Carolina for a time. Where else did I live? So a few other places, man. I've been all over the United States for different points of my life, man. So I have lived in the United States before. Yeah, and spent extended periods of time.
Maybe not long enough.
You don't think so?
I get
You don't
it.
think so? Okay.
I said maybe. I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know. But it sounds like because you said because you don't see certain signs. But
What did I say
yeah.
wrong? What did I say? Because I say it's a
I don't.
revolutionary
I don't think.
country.
I don't. No. 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 I think because you said you don't see certain signs like the only whites only fountain and whites this and what. Um. That's essentially okay. If you go to certain parts of the United States, they don't have the signs up, but I mean, we all know where to go and where not to go. We
That's
know
facts.
sundown
That's
towns,
facts.
sundown towns that still exist. I mean,
So
I'm just
Really?
saying. I'm just a
Really,
there's
sundown
yeah.
towns exist?
there's
Really?
certain hold on. So to her point, right? There's certain parts of certain states you drive, like the police
You
will pull you over
cannot
for
go.
any reason. For any reason, they gonna hit you with ridiculous fines. I can't think of the place in New Jersey my girlfriend was telling me about. There's a place in Jersey that they knew not to drive there. Because every time a black person get caught there, they pull them over. You stay on the turnpike, you keep going. If you pull up at this town, you get in Clark. Clark is the name of it. Clark, New Jersey. They got a lawsuit against the sheriff right now because of all the people that they pulled over, black people. Basically, it was basically a sundown town without being a sundown town. They didn't have the
Yeah,
signs up, but if you black,
pretty
you get
much.
pulled over. No question about it.
And also
Okay.
there are like I think I can't remember how many states there are still, but where what is it? Cannibalism is still legal. You know, if a black
Cannibalism
person,
What is that?
listen to me.
is
If
that
a
real?
black
Cannibalism?
person, listen, if a black person is in West Virginia and he or she is driving down the back road, they might be on
Did you just
on the
say
dinner table. They might
That's
be.
true. That's true. That's true.
Coco,
Yes,
stop it. Stop it.
cannibalism.
Stop it,
Yes,
Coco. Stop it.
yes, yes,
Stop it.
No,
cannibalism.
one,
Yes, it's still
one,
legal in certain
Shit, I
states.
must be in
Yes,
wild right now. I must be in
no,
wild.
yes, I'm
This
telling you,
this,
bro.
this West Philly
I just
talking.
my point.
Joe?
My point is, listen. My point is that
Hills
we
have
don't need
eyes bigger than
signs.
the
You
world.
don't need signs, bro. We already all as black people, we already know where you're supposed to go, where you're supposed to be, and where you're not supposed to be. We know every state we know.
Every, there's a town in Illinois called Anna, Anna, and the white people say Anna stood for "Ain't No Niggas Allowed." That's what they said is what the word represents. Now they're trying to change the image of the town, but that is a well-known example that they got whole places in the U.S. where if you black, you better not go there.
Hey,
Or if
look, I'm
you
gonna
They
tell you
eat
something. I
black
was in the
people,
middle.
bro. They be eating black people, bro. I'm telling you. You think it's a joke? It sounds funny,
I'ma
but
stop it.
listen to
Stop it,
me.
I'ma stop
no,
it.
no, 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 no. I have heard, especially up in the Smoky Mountains, if you
yes,
get a knock on your door, don't open it.
yes.
I've heard that before too. I wouldn't say it's legal, but I would definitely say they're not really checking for you if you just go miss it. You never. I've heard of that too.
This is Iran propaganda from the Black
Bwana,
Americans right now.
I was in this man's military, Bwana. There's a
That's
place
wild,
called
son.
Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. They used to call it Fort Lost in the Woods.
Oh no. Oh
And
no.
now, I have never been stationed at Fort Leonard Wood or Fort Lost in the Woods. It was a field artillery unit, but I was a cook, so I could be anybody unit. So I had a lot of partners that was field artillery. And everybody I know that was stationed, and I knew a lot of people that had been at Fort Lost in the Woods. And they all say the same thing. They had towns. They would even tell you the name of them. They had towns where the military tell you don't go because black people ain't allowed there. This one guy said he was a cook and they were in the field, and this was a white guy. And it was another cook that was stationed with him. They were talking, say when this black guy was a white guy and a black guy, the white guy was telling the story. And this white guy, I forget where he was from, Canada, but had moved to the US, whatever. But he was talking. And they say they were in the woods. We were doing a field exercise in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Not we, because I wasn't there. And they say when you out, when you're out in the field, you still around people. And they say it was out in the country and some white folks lived right there. They say them white folks came telling us, "Oh, y'all cooking?" Says, "Yeah." Say, called him to the side. And y'all even got to cook for the N-words too. They get to eat. But that was one of the towns. Killeen, Texas, where I was stationed. Fort Hood, Texas.
So don't go to Texas. Okay, I got you. Don't go to Texas.
Killeen, Texas.
Yeah, I'm not going to Texas.
K-I-L-L-E-E-N is how you spell it.
One, I'll tell you something. I've been through West Virginia before. There's a bad dope fiend epidemic in West Virginia. Anything is possible out there. I'll tell you guys something else because I live in New York. You wouldn't believe it, but when you start heading upstate New York, a lot of those towns heading upstate, like you guys probably heard of Albany and places like that. There's a lot of sundown towns up there. In fact, one of these days I'll tell you all about it. I was with some friends from college. We went to a show upstate New York. We got chased by pickup trucks and stuff for a couple of miles.
New York City? Wow, that's crazy.
Upstate New York, not New York
City. Upstate, okay.
Yeah, see, everyone has an image of New York City when they think of New York. You take an Amtrak train and go upstate New York, you'll be surprised to see and hear the hillbilly white folks. I kid you not when I tell you this. Hillbilly white folks. There used to be an old TV show depicting this too. I forgot the name of the show now. But these guys are upstate New York. Trust me when I tell you that. And talk about sundown towns, they have them up there.
Wasn't that grocery store they had the mass shooting was in Buffalo?
It was in Buffalo, yep.
Yeah, he went and killed all the black people. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of sort of knows what I'm talking about. Between New York and Syracuse. Any of them big cities you hear them talk about, there's a bunch of small little townships and smaller little cities in there. Trust me.
I stay in South Florida where the immigrants are. I can stay in my little South Florida areas.
Bro, they don't know.
Lauderdale. I can stay in them areas. I ain't getting the big towns, man. I'm not going.
Man, they was drowning black folks in the Everglades and stuff, man. America, like I gotta agree with Black Steel and them and Bakari and Cheryl. As an immigrant person, I've been here long enough to see that they might not have the signs up anymore, but you kind of know. You know what? Let me stay from around there. Right here in New York City, actually, you guys probably heard about this. When they ran down a black kid, a gang of them in Queens, New York, here, Howard Beach, and stomped him to death, man. You're kidding. Bensonhurst in Brooklyn here. My mother told me, may she rest in peace, my mother told me when she first came to the States, she went and did a little job in Bensonhurst. She said they ran her. She had to run to a train station to get safe.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
So, and let me tell you something. Every white person, even if they don't engage in those activities, all of them know. All of them know somebody who has, or is of somebody in their family or their friend's family. They all know.
Absolutely. I was going to go to another prompt, but I'll save it for next week. While I got you guys here, man, let's get into the shot.
Wait a minute, Coco. Since we talking, ain't 11 o'clock yet. We can still talk. Philly. My brother and sister went to Lincoln, and I think Lincoln out in the boondocks, right, Amma? Lincoln University.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's out there.
It's an HBCU. Hell yeah, it's in the boondocks.
Yeah. So when I went to that graduation, I saw like a bunch of black. I actually like Philadelphia. I thought it was like a black city, with a bunch of Amish people there or whatever. So Philly ain't safe either. You don't come to Philly either then.
Okay. Here's the thing, because there's Philadelphia and then there's the surrounding townships. So if you, for instance, go to Lancaster, PA, which is not far. You catch an Amtrak, probably get there in under 2 hours. You need to be careful. Okay.
How about Reading? Reading.
It's situational. So Reading is very close to Philly. I'm not saying there has never been anything that has happened out there, but I think once you start getting into places like Lancaster, because because my school, Millersville University, I don't know if you ever heard of that. They had I had so many I didn't experience myself, but a couple of my friends, they said they walked in. Two of my friends said that one of them was Jamaican, the other one, I think they were both Jamaican. They said they walked in on a bunch of them in their hoods, and this is just less than 2 hours away from Philadelphia. So I mean,
That's
it's
wild. That's wild.
I wouldn't put it past being in Reddit. It's you just don't know. You just don't know. You're just safer, and everybody knows in Philly. You just safer. The only people that don't really know is people that are not black people that are not from the states. And we will always caution them, but sometimes, it's oh, we love everybody. But you still gotta be careful. You can hang around certain people, just make sure you got your people around. That's all.
Okay, I mean thank you for the advice. You all, I never knew that they was eating Negroes in the United States, but
They went, they made books out of this. There's like literal history on white people eating black people and the
yeah,
reasons
but
why
I
they
thought it
ate
was
black
back in the
people.
day. I thought it was back in the day.
No, I mean,
Uh,
man, you go out. I mean, listen, if you go ahead out to Montana and Wisconsin, go ahead if you want. You can see for yourself. But I'm just saying, if you go anywhere by yourself in the boonies, anywhere in the United States, you get what you get.
Yeah, no sweat, no sweat. I was planning on where Brother Bakari live. A friend of mine live in Marietta, Georgia. So I was planning on going to visit him. But I feel like Brother Bakari he's straight. So I feel I'll be safe in his area, even though he have probably a lot of rednecks around him.
He
But
got
he's
guns though.
protected. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he got guns.
protected.
He got his weapons.
So
Yeah, he cool.
it's crazy. Y'all need a black book. You know what? Y'all need to bring back the black book
You
where
do.
black people.
That's crazy. We do.
The green hole. You mean the green book?
The green book, where black people it's safe to travel and where it's not safe to travel, because I don't know.
I've been so. My mom, she owns like a timeshare. You can go all over the place, with your timeshare and whatnot. So we went to this place, this little small town called Crossville, Tennessee. They had a little mountain resort up there. It's a very nice resort, but to get to the resort, you got to go through Crossville, Tennessee. So my son, he called it Cross Burningville because when we went there were no black people. We were in a grocery store, and when we walked in, there was a white girl. She might have been 16 years old. She looked like she saw Bigfoot or something. It occurred to me she had never seen black people like that. So when we get back to the resort, I look up the town, Crossville, Tennessee, whatever. Former sundown town. Up until the 1960s, they had a sign that said, "Nigga, don't let the sun hit you don't let the sun set on your black ass in Crossville." They took the sign down, but I noticed that was something that wasn't advertised on the brochure. So we stayed on the resort the whole time. We playing pickleball, we at the pool or whatnot, but we made sure to stay on the grounds of the resort. In the future, I'm going to do a little bit more research about where we go on vacation.
Black Steel, I am of the opinion in my mind, and y'all could correct me, all Americans on this panel, that how could you live in America? Now y'all could disabuse me this idea. How could you live in America and never interact with a black person? How is that possible?
Because
it's possible.
Black people are only 13% of the population, and much of our population is concentrated in the South. So all the countries that have like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, parts of Florida, that's where the majority of the black population is concentrated. You go to places out west like California, I don't think their black population is more than 10%.
I think it's 6%. 6 or
yeah,
7.
very
like
small.
LA.
LA,
like LA.
Yeah, California,
but not California. So
yeah, but like LA, you got black people in LA, but like in like most of the state, there's very small pockets of black people. So you go to places like Montana, Idaho, you wouldn't catch me dead in Idaho. There's hardly any
So-
black people. I'm sorry, Shay, you finna tell a story? Go ahead, I'm listening.
No, I was just saying Utah. Right. Black people,
Yeah.
I don't even know of black people in Montana. I'm sure South Dakota, North Dakota, ain't no black people up there. I'm sure
Well,
there's like
because the
three.
military, the
Maybe
problem
there's
is
like
the
three.
military bases. Yeah, you have some black people might be stationed out there in the military bases, but for the
Like
most part,
regular people. Mm-mm.
You got
yeah,
places
for
like
the most
Utah.
part, you're not gonna find them.
Ain't no. Look, man, I'm gonna tell y'all a story right quick. Then I know Koku ready. Shut it down. I was going to Miss. We stopped. I'll never forget. We had a flat in this little town called Heflin, Alabama. Heflin. And I walked in the store. I'm like, yo, they got a tie shop around here. It was a black lady working at the register. And me and my nephew, when I got out the car, I'm like, damn, boy, these white folks looking like they ain't never seen no black folk. So I go in there and I talk to it was a black lady at the register. I like, they got a tie shop around here. I promise you, this was her word. You know, they don't like our kind around here. I was like, huh?
All kind. What the hell is that?
I'm like, what? I'm like, all right. I told my nigga, because I was trying to get a tire so I could have a flat, because I still got like 5 more hours to ride, right? And I ain't want to go that far without a spare. I was like, man, I'm just going to go ahead and put this spare on here, and we'll stop in Birmingham. Birmingham was only about 45 minutes away. I said, man, we'll stop in Birmingham. But her exact words were, they don't like our kind around here.
The high cheater.
They always got their pet. They always got
that one. Right.
But guess what I asked her? I'm like, you here, you black Jews. They don't like our kind around here. I looked at ketchup because we had ketchup.
God damn.
You know what? There's a quote by Langston Hughes.
That was about right.
He said, fascism is a new name for the terror black people have always faced in America. So the reason why we can say stuff like this, Buana, because this ain't nothing new, you know? And when we always talk about what's going on internationally and how the United States, all these different countries using laws to oppress the people, that has been black people's reality since the end of slavery. So that's why we have these stories, because we understand we are here in the belly of the beast. Don't get it twisted. Don't listen to the propaganda.
No, me personally, it's been my experience. I don't understand the America, even though I lived there for some periods of time. So I'm very quiet in the United States. I observe. You know, I'm not judgmental like some of these other immigrants. I just observe because, like you say, these things are culture shock to me. I'm like, our kind, Brother Bakari say, our kind. These things like are foreign things to my mind because I come out of a black experience, out of a black fucking world. So it's like everyone looks like me. So I don't have to I contend with Negroes, but not on the same level where you see you contended with white folks with these plastic smiles and you just a lot of fakeness and like, well, we'll take your money, but we really don't want you to be around here. You know, that's not been my experience. So it's just when I go to the United States, I sit small. I'm very quiet. I'm very quiet.
Places they don't want your money, Bawana. Some places they don't want your money.
They don't want your money? God damn.
They don't want you there. Look at me. I can call a friend.
God damn.
I can call a friend right now. And she can tell you about
when her
and her boyfriend went to the mountains. And black people love to go to them damn mountains. I know they come from that Tyler Perry movie.
I feel you came from me, Bakari.
And they asked me, no, but look, they asked her, this was before, like, because you get up certain parts of the mountains now, you'll still lose service. But they stopped and asked for directions. They say that old white man just stood there, and just told them, we don't see many niggas around here. That was his answer when they asked how.
Wow.
I'd have been like, well, I see a lot of crackers.
Wow.
Crackers be cracking. Yeah.
Wow. I just
get up in the mountains. Where were we at? We were in North Carolina. There's a little small town called Bat Cave, North Carolina. No lie. That's the name of the town. And I think I might have been 16, 17. Black people like to go to the mountains, Bakari. I feel like I caught a stray because my mom should like to go to the mountains. So we were in the mountains. And we went to this roadside.
No shots.
We went to the little roadside vendor. She was selling honey. Of course, we get out there. This lady got a shotgun almost as big as I am behind her cash register. Like, man, ain't nobody trying to steal no honey from you in the middle of fucking Batcave, North Carolina. Chill out. But I mean, she was very clean though. She wasn't bad. But still.
Let me tell the brothers and sisters something in America. See, when those same white people come to this country, I get a different face. I get the human white, the so-called human white person, where they love all the Negroes and everything is all fine and we love the black folks. I we don't see a lot of niggas around.
We know.
So I grew up with a completely different reality. So when you telling me that you went to Batcave and we don't take black money, what the fuck is that? I don't speak that. Koku, do you speak that language? I don't speak that language. Koku been living in New York City for longer than for a long time because I don't understand that reality. I can't. It does not compute in my brain. It doesn't compute.
That's one of the most difficult things is to return home and describe what's going on out here. Most people kind of don't understand you or don't want to understand you even.
They don't believe it.
You know what I mean? Because
they
the
think
propaganda tells them this place is the land of milk and honey, streets paved in gold, but they don't tell you the real story, who that story is for. And so it's hard to, but the one thing I don't get, because even though I like Buana, I come from that experience, this idea that a lot of foreign blacks try to perpetrate out here that they didn't know there was black in their country is nonsense. It's nonsense.
No. I know I am black in the Bahamas because I know that when I come back from if I'm going into international place and I come back here and if I'm trying to get a taxi, these guys will break their necks trying to get white money, like Amma was saying, because there's a difference between black money and white money. I thought money was money to try to get tourist money instead of getting local money. I'm like, what's the difference? So I recognize the black racism that exists in the Bahamas. There's no doubt about it. I'm gonna say niggas, but black people treat you horribly. But when Brother Bakari saying that, oh, we don't respect your kind around here, I'm like, because everybody is my kind. So it's like, what are you talking about? But I understand the differences that blacks deal and Brother Bakari and Amma is saying. It's very difficult for me to relate because that's not been my life. So I understand. So all I could do is just be quiet and listen.
I'm gonna tell you something. When I went to the Bahamas, I didn't buy nothing on the front because there was nothing owned by black people on the front. That was all owned by white Greek people or just some white people, wherever the hell they were from. I didn't buy. I went to the back. I asked that told taxi driver, take me to where the black people is from here, where the black-owned business is at. That's what I said. I didn't, I'm going to tell you, man, I do so. Look, Mississippi got the reputation, but America is Mississippi. Like Fannie Lou Hamer said, Mississippi is not a Mississippi problem. Mississippi is America's problem. America created Mississippi because all of America is like Mississippi, but Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas has been the scapegoat for what they do everywhere. Like, I'm going to give you an example. If that had been a grocery store shooting somewhere in Mississippi, what did happen in Buffalo, if that had been in Mississippi or Arkansas, Alabama, story would have been told way different, even by the white folk on the news. Oh, the old past of Mississippi is coming back. But study Lackawanna, New York, and see why, and look up Lackawanna, New York, and why you will find black people from everywhere, even New York, running to Lackawanna. because of their treatment. We were always trying to find a safe place in this damn wretched country. That's why you go to Florida, you're going to find places like Progress Village. You go out there, it's a whole lot of just black folk.
Shout out to the village.
That's what Black Steel is from. He don't like to say it though. But
nah, Black Steel he from Overtown. He from Overtown.
But America is Mississippi. See, when most people talk about Pennsylvania, they know Philly, or they might know Pittsburgh. When they talk about New York, just like Koku said, they think New York City. And then even when you think New York City, like everybody gonna remember what happened in Tennessee. It could have happened in Tennessee in 1970. But this country, the media propaganda have a way to make people conveniently forget what happened in Bensonhurst when the Italians beat that black dude to death with that baseball bat. They know how to.
But Kari, let me ask you a question, okay? Because I live in the South. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. You know I live in Louisville, Kentucky.
Black people but we don't call.
I didn't feel like I was getting the same kind of energy you're talking about. So what is? Explain to me what's the difference? Because I was in the South.
Louisville. Go to Paducah. Look, I know. Go to Paducah.
Yeah, I went to Paducah. I went to Paducah. In fact, I went to Paducah.
How many black people did you see?
As soon as a white person hear your accent, they already know.
Man, I'm not going any place where I'm the only black person there.
You see, how many black people you saw in Paducah?
Not a lot.
I know. I'm gonna tell you. We was going to Chicago, driving to Chicago from here. And I told my late wife, if we ride, we needed gas. It happened once with her. Then after she was passed, it's me and my kids. And we would ride. And we go to the gas station. It was a black dude with his wife out there in a truck. He was like, man, we need gas. But I wasn't getting out this car. He said, this dude walked up to me. He said, bro, you don't know them looks. He said, we going to make like we know each other. Me and you and our family going to walk in these stores together. We going to leave together. Because, bro, they want to try. My doors was locked. My hand on my gun. That's literally how it is, man. When you go to these places here, and when people think Illinois, I think Black Steel named the city in Illinois. They just think Chicago. Man, I'm gonna tell you, I did about 75 miles on film, man, one night going to Chicago. Me and my kids, and I need to get my son. Like, Dad, I think it's this time. He was about 11. Dad, there go a gas station down there. Man, it was one light on that road. I say, no, son, that ain't a good road for us to stop at. Man, I drove about 75 miles down there till I saw some lights. And when we saw some lights, we pulled over. We had crossed over into Illinois. In that town we stopped in was like Paducah. And the same thing happened. This black dude was like, bruh, because he had a car with him. It was 2 cars. Then it was me. He said, you just got your kids with you. So we going to walk in here with you. We ain't going to leave you because they funny out here, but we all need gas. So we going to ride from here together. You go in there, take the kids to the restroom.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Take the kids to the restroom. Do what you got to do. Fuel up. We going to leave it. Now, we going opposite ways, but they don't know we ain't together. So even though we don't know each other, it might not even got along if we lived in the same neighborhood. Don't even know. But we had the decency to say, you know what? We ain't going to leave each other here. We going to be together. Yes, in this country, bro.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. You have to realize, black people only make up 13%, maybe 14% of the population. So again, you go to certain parts of the country, there's going to be hardly any presence of African Americans or any type of people of African descent. That's just unfortunate, you know.
Black Steel, 13% is 50 million strong, though. Okay, that's 50 million strong, though.
Okay, but when you have that population spread out or concentrated in certain areas, yeah, that's a lot of people. If you just counting the black belt states, mostly again
Mm-hmm.
the South and the urban areas of the North. That seems like a lot. When you get up out in the backwoods, man, you ain't gonna see no black people. I've learned my lesson. Okay, no more exploring for me.
All right. Good conversation. Very good conversation, as a matter of fact. Because sometimes we need to let other people know exactly what the circumstances are where black folks live, Let's do some shout outs before you guys leave the panel tonight, if you don't mind. I'm just going to go straight down the line. Brother Bakari, what would you like to shout out this week?
As usual, I got to start with shouting you out for hosting. Shout out the whole panel. I'm going to shout out. I can't even. I don't even know. My son's Keyways fraternity. Phi Beta Sigma, what they say, they are the fraternity of African kings. They just sent the black man that just went to the moon or whatever was part of their fraternity. A black man with a black wife and 4 beautiful black daughters, by the way. So I'm gonna shout that out, man. And you right, Lord of Slaughter, it best to stop at truck stops if you're in an area where there's a truck stop. On that note, man, that's it, man. And thanks for letting me speak.
Bakari, before you go, and thanks for coming through. Real quick before you go, did you have any family from the South who had to leave the South and come to the North? Just real quick.
I did had to leave. Far as my knowledge, no. I'm trying to think and see. Well, my daddy's side, no. I think my mama's side had somebody that left, but had a couple people leave. But my daddy's side was a little different. And what I mean by a little different, as my mama would say, they could read, write, and count. And they wouldn't scare the white folks. So white folks couldn't take their land. So my daddy's side family, they acquired 4,000 acres of land. My mama's side of the family was a little bit different.
All right. I appreciate that, Brother Bakari. Sister Cheryl, what would you like to shout out this week?
No, just everybody on the panel. I feel like, this is a good panel. So just shout out to everybody. That was a great conversation.
Appreciate that, Sister Cheryl. Shout out to you, your husband, your baby. So shout out to all of you, and thanks for being here as well. Black Steel, what would you like to shout out this week?
Shout out the chimpanzee civil war that's going on in Uganda right now. It's a war for the Planet of the Apes going on right now, man. So apparently this troop of chimpanzees is broken up and now they're fighting each other. So apparently the CIA is backing one group of chips. So I've been following this with great interest. Every day we wake up, it's just more shit. So sometimes I like to find something positive. It's not something positive, just something to laugh at. But yeah, shout out to the chimpanzee civil war. I hope they come to a understanding and stop the violence.
I saw a video where they were squaring off in some forest. I was like, wow, this is really happening.
Bro, chimpanzees are the most violent of the great apes. So gorillas is kind of chill, orangutans is kind of chill, but chimpanzees are known. They snatch other chimpanzees' babies and eat them. They are some vicious bastards.
Bro, I swear I heard something about them. I don't know how true it was, but they was making tools or something. They was going into the Bronze Age, They was making tools. Was that serious?
That's true. Chimpanzees are known to use tools. What they do is that they'll take a stick and put it in a termite mound, and let the termites crawl on the stick and then pull it out and eat it.
I thought they were using them against each other.
They use rocks, they use sticks. So I don't know. They got to the point they're making spears now. We ain't talking about the Planet Apes.
That's what I'm saying. Spears. Oh my God.
But they do use tools. They do use rocks and sticks as weapons. I don't know if they've gotten to the point that when they start making fire, it's time to leave.
It's time to leave.
They can have that, but but no, they do use tools.
Yeah, they'll invent the wheel soon. Buana, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah, shout out to my beautiful African American people. And this ain't frivolous to say this. You know, when I was in Kentucky, you know, I met one of the most beautiful women in the world. You know, I'm sorry I didn't get married to her, you know, and eventually that didn't work out. But, you know, the African Americans, when I was in America, showed me a whole lot of love. My frat brother to this day, you know, still texting me after more than 20 years being away, you know, out of the country, well, a long time being away in that scenario, we still email me and text me to this day. So shout out to my African American brothers. They showed me nothing but love when I was in the United States, and I have nothing but respect for my American people. I watch you all. I see you all you all are very unique, and I give you that. Your brothers and sisters are very unique, and I appreciate your stories. And now I have some. It's very good to have some understanding in terms of where people come from and their experiences and things of that nature, and I appreciate that very much. And it's nothing like getting an understanding in terms of coming where people coming from and their perspectives. And I understand your struggles, man. You know, just keep your head up and keep doing your thing, man. Much love to your brothers and sisters all the time, 100%. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah, Buano will be broadcasting from his car next week. Shout out to all of you guys.
Hey, Coco, you know it's election season, so all I hearing is freaking music out here. That's all I hearing is goddamn music out here. But needless to say, I'll leave it.
Yeah, man. So shout out to all of you guys on the panel tonight. Shout out to Lord of Slaughter. Lord of Slaughter contributed to the goal tonight, man. I appreciate that. He said the AES should use its wealth to hire scientists and engineers. So I do appreciate that. We'll be back next week. I might reach out to Jacadero to host next week. We'll see. But we'll be here next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join the Discord if you haven't. Post your prompts, man. I noticed that it's down to me and like Black Steel and who else? I guess Trigger or someone now posting most of the prompts. But you know, if you're on the Discord, check in, post your prompts so that your topics can be discussed as well. I'll see you guys next week, man. You guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.